Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Happy Wednesday. Yes, it is Wednesday. Oh my God, sorry. Every day I struggle to remember what's day was. And I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one. Because you know who else struggles is every older person. And I want every older person who's watching to know that just because we don't remember what day it is of the week doesn't mean that we are old and decrepit. Sorry, I'm going on a rant here. Nice to see Bishonen in a Box, Stardust City Hag. Everyone's in chat. I hope you are all doing well, having a good day. Yeah, OMG, Bishonen in a Box. Glad to see you're here. Yeah, hope everyone's doing good. I sure am. It's a beautiful, um, sunny. It is summer for sure. It is hot. I mean, but not too hot. It's not 100 degrees yet. Let's make that perfectly clear. It is not 100-degree weather yet. It is hot though, but it is not 100-degree weather. Um, but it is nice, hot, spring, early summer day. That's what it feels like here in the beautiful Inland Empire. Ah, yes. As what Abuela says, it's a beautiful sunshine. Yeah. Abuela loves her sunshine. Ugh. Abuela loves her sunshine. She loves to get her suntans. She loves to see the cats get their suntans too. Uh, Definitely blessed to be here in California, specifically Southern California. It's a beautiful area and beautiful sunshine. And yeah. All right. Let's get into it. We first and foremost, I forgot to put in the stream title that Tom Steyer conceded. So let's just pull that up first because that is great. He's the first person to finally, or like to put. He literally said, "I'm conceding and I'm putting my support behind Javier Becerra." Man, no one's reported on it yet. I guess we got to go to Instagram. Here we go. What is his thing? I was not even following him. That's okay. I'm not upset about it. Okay. Let me turn off the music. All right. So yeah, Tom Steyer. Uh, did he not even have a video? Okay. So 18 hours ago, it is now clear that we do not have the votes necessary to advance to the general election in November. First, before any pride in what we accomplished or disappointment in what we didn't, I want to express my gratitude to all of those of you who knocked on doors, made phone calls, came to town halls, or trusted me with your vote. Thank you. Your support and your dedication to your fellow Californians humbles and inspires me. And I'm forever changed by the months we spent together. Every day, reminder, blah, blah, blah. Does he say? Okay. For the rest of my life, I'll be proud of the ways we fought for with working people. Together we fought for Californians. That belongs to the people and the people who keep it running every day. Okay. Okay. So, okay. I'm sorry. This is long. Um. And now the genie is out of bottle. This campaign provided that business as usual depends. Oh my God. Okay, yes. It's. Oh, wait. Here's something important. They see what's happening and they know who to blame and why so many people voted for our platform. And it's not lost on me that that is also why so many people just couldn't stomach voting for a billionaire. That was me, brother. That was me right there. That's why I couldn't do it. I was like, I'm not going to use my primary vote on Tom Steyer. I just, something inside me, something inside me does, like, does not, he does not sit well with me. I don't know what it is, but I can't really explain it. Maybe it's the fact that he's trying too hard. Maybe it's the fact that, he ran for president in the same style and it's just like, man, stop. Maybe getting into politics isn't your way to fix whatever. I don't know. This is just my Tom Steyer rant. Something does not sit well with me about him and I think it's because he's trying so hard, spending so much money, putting so much effort in. And yeah, ultimately, at the end of the day, I can't trust him. I can't trust him. I, uh, I can't stomach it. That's the best way to put it. I've always been an optimist, and today I remain an optimist. Blah blah blah. For now, Donald Trump. Blah blah blah. Okay. It would be a travesty for Steve Hilton to win the governorship, and Californians must unite behind Javier Becerra to ensure he does not. All right, cool. He's endorsing Javier. Is that it? That's all he has to say. To my supporters, thank you for everything. Blah blah blah. I won't die a billionaire. It's just like that's the thing. Okay, yeah, I know you weren't born a billionaire. Um, and he says he won't die a billionaire. But it's just like, man, is there no other way to spend your money other than on campaigns? There's no other way you could be spending your money. All right. But whatever. Neither here nor there. I think he understands now. I hope he stops running for elections. Please. Please stop running for elections, Tom Steyer. Please stop spending money. I guess, all the ads you bought was supporting news stations and stuff, but like please stop spending money frivolously. Hopefully the stream's okay and that it says it's dropping like a lot of frames for me, but hopefully it is okay cuz we're not watching a video right now, we're just reading. It seems to be fine for now. Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you, Bashona in a box. Um
So here are some takeaways from Tom Steyer's tragic loss. Yes, a few people have called me the Steyer Slayer, but I cannot take full credit because guess what, y'all? California is not for sale. And that is what I think should be the biggest takeaway. Not only did Tom Steyer spend a disgusting $223 million, it was the most for any governor's primary election ever. He got just shy of 2 million votes. That means he spent around 116.
A hat that says class trader. Brother, see that just doesn't sit well with me. That I mean, yes, it's funny, it's great, it's a meme, it's true. But this is the same shit that Elon Musk tried to do, you know? Like when Elon Musk was like, I'm a socialist. And it's like, brother, you don't even know what that means. You're just LARPing because this is the hot buzzword right now and you want attention. I'm not saying that Tom Steyer is in the same leagues as Elon Musk, right? What I am saying is that this type of desperate behavior is like and I know it's not necessarily attention seeking behavior from Tom Steyer, but it's it's something it's just too desperate. I don't know. I can't explain it. We'll figure it out.
$15 per vote that he received. In total, he has spent $500 million to what? Have a midlife crisis? Like buy a yacht, buy an island. That's what other billionaires with midlife crises do. Okay, so Tom Steyer did win big in San Francisco, okay? And there was a lot of people in tech like going in this primary election. However, all of them lost. And Tom Steyer definitely won among wealthy white progressives that lived near the ocean. Well, he lost among Hispanics. And it wasn't just because of Javier Becerra. Traditionally, Latinos tend to vote more centrist, okay? Tom Steyer did better with men. Becerra did well with women. Another thing that I want to point out is that the polls were right. Even though Tom Steyer paid for a lot of polls that confused everybody in the end, those were like very misinformed. And the actual legitimate polls very consistently showed that Javier Becerra was 6 points ahead of Tom Steyer. And it showed that consistently leading up to election day. And that is exactly where we ended. And I just absolutely love that for us. Like we can trust the polls, right? Ultimately, Tom Steyer being a billionaire,
I had it muted, of course. You're muted. I didn't hear your voice. Sorry. But shown in a box that I feel like I've seen homie's name on every sign for so long in our area. And yes, that's so true. And it's just oversaturation. Oversaturation.
Really truly think was his downfall. He just had so much money that he poured tons of negative ads onto TV, onto social media, and on the radio, and he started very, very early, to the point at which people started really getting fatigued by the constant barrage of like toxicity, like very early, and ultimately they just drowned him out. And Tom Steyer ran simultaneously as like a populist but also a billionaire, which is really weird. Lastly, California kind of seemed like a consolation prize. He ran for president in 2020, and when he couldn't get that, he tried to run for governor. And when that wasn't working out, he just went so extremely negative that it really turned people off. I hope I never have to talk about Tom Steyer again, although I certainly had a lot of fun doing so. So here are some takeaways from Tom Steyer.
That was good. Thank you. What is this lady? Oh man, she makes a lot of good. Ooh, let's see what she said about Yosemite Sam.
We finally know who's going to be moving on in the California governor's primary race: Steve Hilton and Javier Becerra. Let's go over some of the details, okay? We now have 90% of the votes in, and Javier Becerra maintained a very strong lead. He's at 27.9%, and Steve Hilton is officially coming in second with 25%. Tom Steyer is ending just shy of 2 million votes with 22.5% of the total vote. However, there's truly no way for him to win at this point, okay? Here are a few interesting things about this primary race. So it felt like it took a while to count the votes, right? Well, that's because it's looking like this will be the most mail-in ballots cast ever for a governor's primary election, okay? Which is pretty cool. Even though we're still unsure exactly where we're going to land, it looks like it's going to be between 25 to 36% of all registered voters. Even though percentage-wise, that actually matches the 2019 governor's election. That's the last election we had where all the candidates were totally new. There were no incumbents. We actually have 4 million more voters here in California than we did versus 2018. Californians didn't want anger. They
4 million more people voted than in 2018.
wanted stability. All right. So this is reflected in both of the top candidates. Becerra, he had obviously immense experience. He's the most qualified candidate for governor ever. But he also came with emotional stability. He didn't run a negative campaign. He wasn't chaotic. He wasn't all over the place, right? Steyer, on the other hand, had no experience and led a very negative and chaotic campaign. Chad Bianco, who is Steve Hilton's main competition, he only ended with 10% of the votes. And Chad Bianco was extremely negative. And even though he had the experience per se, it definitely turned a lot of voters off. At the end of the day, Steve Hilton was just more emotionally balanced than Chad Bianco was, right? Katie Porter, who started out the race really strong, she ended with only 4.4% of the vote. She was never really able to gain traction. Probably the most frustrating is that Betty Yee and Eric Swalwell, both of whom dropped out weeks ago from the race. Well, they both got over 60,000 votes combined, right? Which is more than a lot of other candidates who are highly qualified and actually running. What's interesting too is that voters who are aged 18 to 34, who tend to not really vote very much in primary elections, well, they actually increased their voter turnout 4 percentage points from 2022. And even though some of those voters tended to go for Steyer, they didn't overwhelmingly vote for him enough in order to make Steyer win. I'm going to be doing a much bigger breakdown on the results, but I just wanted to get this information out to you quickly and celebrate that, guys, it's finally over.
Yeah, sure is. That's crazy. People in the comments of this video saying that they're stealing the election. That's crazy. Hold on, I got to leave a comment. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I get the mail-in ballots taking a long time to count, but it's crazy how people are thinking the election is being stolen. They don't care about facts. Crazy. Comment. Whoops. Comment. There we go. Cool. Shout out to the anti-plastic lady. Subscribe. It seems like she has a lot of great content. Um, how do I get out of this? No. Oh my god, that's so big. There we go. Jeez. Okay. She only. Oh, she's like a TikTok person, huh? Okay. Man, I don't know why the internet is bad, but hopefully it's not that bad.
Now, and then watch the segments after.
Yeah. Hours before the start of the FIFA World Cup, the National Coordinator of Education Workers, Cited, demanded that President Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo fulfill her campaign promise and put forward a proposal that meets the union's demands. Otherwise, it will continue protesting on the day of the tournament's inauguration, which I remind you is tomorrow.
Yeah, there we go. World. All right.
Okay, yeah, the World
I know
Cup
you love baseball and I
stuff
love
is
American
crazy.
football.
Like,
We're Batman.
okay. The people getting stuck at customs and border patrol, that is absolutely crazy. Hold on. Democracy Now. Amy Goodman covered it. Let's see. Do they have a thing for the World Cup? Yeah, okay. This guy, this Somalian referee, he's supposed to be a referee for the World Cup, and probably because he's from Somalia, he got super rejected. Okay, World Cup referee from Somalia returns home after US denies him entry. Why the hell would the US deny him entry? Why? Like, what was the reason? We need to know what the reason is. Um, but okay.
I'm hardly defending the Major League Baseball Association either. I'm just
Yeah.
making. I'm making a gag that United Staters are historically ignorant about soccer, right? When the rest of the world loves it.
Yeah.
You know?
So
United
we
Staters.
start with that
I can't
headline because I
believe
think
you
it's
called
important
us
to mention
United
that these are legitimate protests that are
Mhm.
happening. There are demands that are being made. I think there's been an effort by some people who I think are mischaracterizing the protests as some kind of opposition operation. I don't think that's the case whatsoever. We're talking about La Gente. La Gente has protested every government from every party since they were created. They, I think, are trying to take advantage of this opportunity that is presented to them of having a significant bargaining chip in their hand, which is that obviously the federal government, the local government wants to project a certain image with the world's attention. The inaugural game for the the World Cup being hosted by the 3 North American countries is happening in Mexico. It's not happening in the U.S. It's not happening in Canada. The final will be in the U.S., but it's happening here, which means that when the World Cup kicks off, when billions of people are going to be paying attention, that they want to try to extract some concessions out of the government. And so this, I think, is a good point to start on. That doesn't mean that these protests are free of criticism, because I do think that there are some things that are troubling. Just to mention, the fact that there were some explosive artifacts found on one of the buses. Now, they're alleging that these were planted, but, the evidence suggests that, and if you're familiar with the tactics of some of the people who participated in these more radical actions, that it probably was theirs, as a means of
What? There was
sowing
explosives
a
on
very
a bus?
confrontational style of protests, where they do very much, as is a long-time tradition in Mexico, directly confront agents, state security forces, agents of the state. But nonetheless, it's not something that I think is acceptable. You can't have explosive artifacts in a protest because, bystanders can get hurt. If they are not well constructed, they are very dangerous. And also, they were being transported in one single box, which makes them a very large explosive artifact when all put together. So it just gives you an example. I want to, before throw it over to you, Kurt, throw this other headline from La Jornada on the screen as well, where it says, with violent acts, they seek to create an image of chaos in Mexico. That is the line from Claudia Sheinbaum. And the article goes on to say, President Claudia Sheinbaum asserted that the violent acts occurring during the teachers' protests are no longer solely in response to legitimate demands, but part of a strategy to project an image of chaos and instability in Mexico. She says, quote, yes, there is provocation to show that there's chaos in Mexico, end quote. The president stated her daily press conference at the National Palace, where she emphasized that the crisis scenario some are trying to portray is, quote unquote, fabricated and does not reflect the reality of the country. She also linked the situation to recent calls for radical action made by businessman Ricardo Salinas Pliego. So there's the context. Kurt, you live in the center. You've been dealing with this. How's it been for you?
I also lived in Oaxaca for many years. With
That is true. You are very familiar with Section 22.
So we really want to analyze this in as rigorous and as nuanced a manner as possible, right? Because it's very, very important, and it's very easy to, I think, just kind of create a broad brush analysis of this and really not get into the historical, the social, the political, and a series of other elements of this. So let's get into it. It's important. The CENTE, which is the Coordinadora, is only a part of the National Teachers Union, the CENTE with an S, which, like all of the major unions in Mexico throughout history, was in collusion with the PRI structure at the time. Right? It was part of that corporatist structure. So the CENTE with a C begins as a dissident movement within the National Teachers Union in 1979, at the height of pre-ism. Right? Just 3 years before, the PRI president had won unopposed in the 1976 presidential election, right, which led to certain political reforms there in the Congress and the like, Lopez Portillo. So the CENTE with a C is launched at the height of Priismo as a dissident movement to attempt to democratize the National Teachers Union. Right? And so you see it in mostly central and southern states, right? Oaxaca, Guerrero, Chiapas, the states that are not coincidentally the poorest and with the largest indigenous representation in the country. Mexico City, of course, is also included there. So that's important to note. It's important to note that the CENTE with a C has created an admirable organizational structure, right, which has managed to withstand 40 years of neoliberalism and a decline in union participation, both in the public and private sectors in both the United States and Mexico. Right. So the organizational part of it is, really something to behold. If you see
decline of unions.
A CENTE plantón, they come with their tents and their tarps, and they really set up and install themselves. Right? There's another side to the CENTE as well, and there's this kind of insularness about it and closure in it, where they're not particularly interested in explaining to the general public what their demands are and how that benefits the larger public, right? It's kind of like there's a deal with it mentality there as well that has to be noted, right? That said, right, on the face of it, the protests are quite legitimate. I think any union in the world would be upset about a pension counter reform in 2007, which privatized the pension system. It did. It took what was called a pension system based on solidarity, which means that active teachers basically paid the pensions of those who are retiring, into basically a Chilean model IRA type system, where you get like a crappy individual private account which had your contributions and the government's contributions. Like that had happened 10 years prior in '97 in the private sector in the Afore reform. So that part of it is very clear, right? And the demand is to eliminate the 2007 reform. The government contends that would cost some 20 points of the GDP, and it would just be impossible. Right? So that's the real thorn in the side here. Right? The teachers are demanding, they're demanding 100% pay rise, and they're also demanding the elimination of the 2007 pension reform, which from the government side, they'd say it would cost 20 points of the GDP. In Lopez Obrador's time, they did a pension reform where they kept the individual pension system, but they instituted a top-up system where anyone who retires below the average wage will get a top-up to get their pension up to 100% of their final pension up to the average wage of those who are within that system. Within the
really
within the
Americans
IMSS,
wish.
right? Which at the moment is like 16,000 pesos a month. The teachers say that's not enough, and there we are. Right? It's a conflict, and you saw the teachers the other day, breaking down the meshwork and going into the building of the public education ministry, right? I do not believe that they are infiltrated by the PRIAN. I think that's very simplistic. I think you're absolutely right to call that point out.
Yep.
The CENTE has protested against every government and will continue to do so, no doubt. I think it's a high-risk strategy in that it's the kind of tactics that I think would garner widespread public support if it were a more repressive government of the past.
Sure.
You know, in 2004, 2006 in Oaxaca, there was a very repressive PRI government. They tried to clear out the teachers from the center of Oaxaca. The teachers battled back, took back the center of the city, and a large social movement gathered around that because of the authoritarian nature of the PRI government at the time. So in a sense, one can also see that kind of both sides are kind of talking past each other. Like some of the Morenaists and the Cuatroteistas are saying, oh, it's all PRIAN. But also from the teacher side, they're adopting tactics that would be very appropriate in a more authoritarian and repressive government. So here we are. It's not easy.
No.
It's not easy. And right now, the downtown
For decades.
is most occupied. So what the Presidenta said this morning at the press conference is, if the Zocalo is not accessible for the Fan Fest, right? The Fan Fest are the giant screens that people can watch the World Cup matches on, because some of them are going to be on free TV, but not all of them. Some of them are going to be on pay TV, which is another controversy, which is something else we've talked about, which is the corruption of the FIFA, which is going to be making $9 billion off of all this, while demanding tax exemptions from the poorest of the 3 countries in this whole North American FIFA thing, and also demanding that each country cough up thousands and thousands of volunteers to do all their work for free while they run off with $9 billion.
Did you see this news that they're even going to go after bars that are streaming the games?
Yeah.
So you can't even
Right, you
go
need to have a
to-
license.
you
You need to have a license,
That's
right? To do
crazy.
that.
not a regular streaming
That's
single use
crazy.
license.
Right.
It's unbelievable. I mean, they're just trying to squeeze everything out of everybody. And to, I think, in a kind of disturbing way, remove the social element.
That's right.
Right? Like part of it, you know, I watched the World Cup here in Mexico in the Zocalo. It's an incredible experience.
It is. It's
right?
it's fun.
You know, it's not the same as
I'm
being
not the world's biggest soccer fan.
Okay, sorry. I wanted to show everyone Claudia Scheinbaum introducing the new Mexico-made EV, I guess. Oh my god. Oh no, someone in the comments is being mean. Wow. It's just got steel wheels. Oh man, it looks... Oh, it's got suicide doors. That's pretty cool. Okay, perfect. It's accessible for, you know, people in wheelchairs. Oh, it's got a spare tire in the back. Wow. So epic. Yeah, so anyways, this is...
¡Vámonos!
Vámonos! Oh my god. Oh,
Este es Olinia,
Olinia.
auto eléctrico diseñado por jóvenes mexicanos.
Is this she said for Jovenes Mexicans? That's for young Mexicans, right? That's crazy. It's so ugly. I'm sorry. It's so square. Yeah. That's it. She gave it a thumbs up. Yeah. So Olinia. Yeah, here she is. Pictures. This thing is crazy. It looks like it literally has like 14-inch wheels. But I guess that's it. That's it. It was just one little media post. It wasn't like a serious thing. 'Cause like what factory made this, you know, like where are they getting the batteries from? But okay, here, let's see this horrible AI voice video, I think.
The global automotive industry has treated Mexico as one massive, hyper-efficient
not.
assembly line for foreign brands. If you look at the factory floors across the country, Mexican auto workers are highly praised for building everything from rumbling American V8 trucks to
Yup.
premium German luxury crossovers. But despite accounting for a massive chunk of the nation's manufacturing power, Mexico has never truly had
It's
its
so
own
ugly.
definitive,
I'm sorry, the car is so ugly. It barely went up that little bump.
for a massive chunk of the nation's manufacturing power, Mexico has never truly had its own definitive, homegrown automotive identity. Welcome to Vision Effect TV. I'm Ava, But Mexico just
Ava, are
dropped
you
a
real? Ava, are you an AI voice or are you a real person? I don't know, man. Oh, in this video, Ava, AVA, analyzes the engineering philosophy behind the Olinea Uno, examines whether or not its low-cost approach can succeed, explores the economic and geopolitical significance of Mexico's first homegrown EV, and answers the most important question of all. Can a 6-seat electric vehicle at this price point genuinely transform urban mobility? I don't know, man. I don't know.
massive geopolitical curveball on the global automotive stage. Personally driven onto the stage by Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum inside a military hangar, this is the all-new Olinea Uno, the very first domestically designed, developed, and manufactured electric vehicle in the history of the country.
Damn.
Coordinated by the Ministry of Science alongside top national tech institutes, the Olinea Uno isn't trying to copy a multi-million-dollar luxury hypercar. It enters the grid with a shocking, hyper-disruptive starting price of just 150,000 pesos, which translates to right around $8,600. It is
That's crazy. I don't think you could buy any new car in America for $8,600. Let's see. Cheapest new car in USA. Okay, here we go. Car and Driver magazine, the most affordable cars. Okay, see, starting price 23,000. 23,000. The Kia K4, and then also followed by the Nissan Sentra, and then the Hyundai Elantra. Those are the top 3 most affordable cars. And Mexico is making a brand new car worth 8,600, well, not worth, but they're going to estimated MSRP $8,600. That's crazy. You can't even really find used cars on the market for that price, I think.
the direct, uncompromising declaration that Mexico is stepping away from being a mere assembly plant to build
Yeah.
its own digital future. Let's look at the
Oof. Oof, the little electric charger thing. Unless it's actually a little storage container. It has an actual key, a keyhole. That's pretty, I like that.
blueprints of this micro-titan to see if it's a genius urban disruptor or a complete compromise. To truly judge the Olinea Uno, you have to completely throw away your traditional Western biases about what a normal
Mhm.
car should be.
Yeah.
If you try to compare this to a standard
Yeah, this probably sounds like absolute garbage on the freeway. I don't even know if you can take it on the highway, you know. Can this thing go 60, 70, 80 miles per hour? I don't know. Maybe, you know, like Nissan Leaf and those cars do, the, you know, other small electric cars, but this just looks so tiny and it doesn't well, I mean, like, it's supposed to be cheap, so the noise insulation is going to be like the first thing that they compromise. It probably has no carpet. It's probably just plastic flooring. Ideally, it should be plastic flooring.
highway EV, its spec sheet will look absolutely wild. Let's look at the raw technical blueprint.
Okay.
Powering this machine is a modest 13 kilowatt electric motor, pushing out roughly 18 horsepower. It draws juice from a highly stable,
Whoa, 18 horsepower. Okay, this is a car for the city.
compact 14.7 kilowatt-hour lithium iron phosphate battery, which limits the vehicle to an absolute top speed of just 50 kilometers per hour or
Oh,
31 miles per hour.
damn. So this is basically an e-bike. Bro, e-bikes can go faster than this. Okay, this is not a vehicle to replace. This is not a family. I mean, yes, it could fit a family inside, but it is not viable for like Southern California. At least, I don't know. Maybe it could work as like a taxi cab in the big city, but like for people to buy this and to be their daily driver, nah, it's not possible.
Range? You are looking at around 100 to 125 kilometers on a single charge. There is no complex, multi-thousand
Oh
dollar
my
fast
God. See,
charging
it's a K truck. It is Mexico's version of the
Around
Japanese
100 to
K-truck.
125 kilometers on a single charge.
Let's
There is
see.
no
Show
complex
us the
multi
look at that. It has a little truck bed attachment. Instead of having the 6 seats, it's a K truck. If y'all don't know what a K truck is, I'll show you real quick. Here you go. Oh my god. Here you go. We can import them. Oh, I can buy it for $4,000. A 1999 Suzuki Carry truck DB. Oh shit, look at this video. You can actually see video of your car before you buy it from Japan. Oh damn, look at that. That thing's sick, bro. And that thing has more than 18 horsepower, I bet. Hilarious. This is great footage. No wonder people are importing cars so much more. It's so much more easier than I remember it. Look at this is like good high quality photos. Let's see. Show us the engine. Oh, they don't got a picture of the engine bay, just the interior. Let's see. Damn. Stick shift. It's got good headliner. See, basically the same tiny ass little wheels that the Mexico what is it called? The Olinea Uno? The Olinea Uno basically has the same size tires. That's cool. Let's see. How much horsepower does it have? Or is it just going to tell me in CC? Hilarious. That's cool. I can't believe you can actually buy this. Man. Honda. Here you go. Subaru Sambar. That's the kind of K truck that what's his name has? Um Ludwig. Here, I'll show you. Oh man, fixing Ludwig's stolen K truck. That's hilarious. Someone stole his K truck? That's crazy. Damn, I didn't know they collabed with Big Time. That's cool. Hold on. Surprising my best friend with his dream car. That's gay, and it's a STI.
This right here might just be one of the biggest projects we've ever done here at Legacy EV. And it just so happens to come in the tiniest package. We worked with the boys over at Big Time to convert this 1997 Subaru Sambar
Wow, it's so cute.
to electric for everybody's favorite streamer, Ludwig. Come
Wow.
check it out.
See, there you go. Streamers collaborating with regular YouTubers. That's great. Damn, so they electrified it. That's pretty cool. Yup. Let's see.
All right, went to 99.9.
All right, now once the guys over at Big Time were trained up, it was time to bring them into the build. Now we had gotten most of it done before they got here, but we still needed their help to tie off some of the odds and ends. I'm getting to see them enjoy the torque of this EV system.
Yeah, how
as
much
they were getting
torque
out there
does
and
it
ripping
have?
for the first time. All right, we just got back from delivering the K truck to Ludwig, and it was
Oh my
a
god, Anna
blast. We
came
had
with a
great
little
time.
mini bike.
Ludwig loves the truck. It was great to see the guys from Big Time again, and honestly, I think it's one of my favorite builds that we've done so
Damn,
far
it's
here at
so
Legacy EV. If
cute.
you enjoyed this video, make sure to follow along, like, and subscribe. We've got a ton more content coming out on different behind the builds that we've got going on. Everything from converting Herbie to the
Okay.
Back to the Future DeLorean, Bradley Beal's electric Porsche, and Nate Burleson's Caddy. Maybe even Rob's Eclipse. I don't know. We'll see. Thanks so
don't know
much
who these
for
people
checking
are.
in. If you want to get camp, next one.
Oh my god. Okay. How is that? Damn. Okay, well, anyways, yeah, Ludwig got that. Okay, so yeah, basically, this Olinea Uno is a K truck.
$50,000 fast charging system required here. You simply plug the vehicle directly into a standard household wall outlet, and it juices up completely in about 4 hours on a 220-volt feed.
Damn,
Now,
so
on
it
paper,
really is. It's like an e-bike. Because your e-bike can charge through the regular wall outlets at your home. And yeah, because otherwise it's so crazy to get a electric charger set up, right? Um, to get an electric charger, a fast speed charger for your EV is crazy. But this, oh my God. And look at, there's a K truck, electric K truck, but it's a panderia. That's crazy. They could be, yeah, selling bread on the side of the road out of their electric truck. That is the best case scenario for this. Okay, this is not a family car. This should be replacing the small business minivan thing.
some critics might roll their eyes and call it a neighborhood vehicle. But look at how brilliantly they engineered the spatial layout. Despite having a tiny,
Damn,
boxy urban footprint, the Olinea Uno can comfortably seat up to 6 passengers and is cleverly engineered to accommodate wheelchair users. The interior cabin is a masterclass in pure, utilitarian space optimization, discarding heavy, expensive luxury screens to focus entirely on raw
yeah, we don't need no screens. We don't need all our controls to be in the screens of the display of the car. Give us buttons.
passenger capacity and accessibility. To understand why this ultra-cheap micro EV actually matters, we have to perform a quick financial reality check. Right now, Mexico's EV market is being flooded with imported Chinese electric models. But even the absolute cheapest Chinese imports carry a price tag hovering around $17,000. In a country where the average household wage sits around $1,000 a month, that is still an absolute luxury dream for the working class. By slashing that entry barrier clean in half to $8,600, the state-backed Olinea project makes zero-emission transportation accessible to millions of citizens who have been completely ignored.
Let's check.
The new Olinea car has finally been presented.
Wow, so this is,
Today, at a
oh my God, it's such a
special
small frame.
shin-bound conference, the new Olinea car was. The new
Look at
Olinea
that. It's nothing. I was thinking it was going to be built like, mass produced, but no, it's all just a test, isn't
car
it?
has finally been presented. Today, at a special shin-bound conference, the new Olinea car was finally presented with its final features, price, as well as a series of infrastructure that will surround the new Olinea car, such as new traffic regulations, among other things. If you want to know all these new features below, these features not just final price, everything that will surround the new Olinea, well, here I bring you all the information.
Thank you. Give us the information. Oh my God. It's not coming. Give us the Okay. Yep. Okay. So there's Shine Bomb. She's so little. It's crazy.
Thank you.
Oh my God, she jumped down. And I was just saying she looks so fragile. Nah, she's a tough woman. Okay, come on.
President of Mexico, it is an honor
Okay, who is this Mexican Elon Musk?
to present Olinea One, a car for Mexico from Mexico. Kijk, ik show je, eens heel lang. What is out of you?
It is an accessible electric low-cost vehicle designed for the daily lives of millions of Mexicans.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's such a long time.
Rafael Garaloa, who is the technical director of the project, will explain.
Well, with that, I'll end, Secretary, with an immense thank you for your support and for believing in this project. I'll give you the floor, please.
Buenas tardes todos y todas. Presidenta, hemos cumplido. Me da mucho gusto. Le agradezco muchísimo su trabajo, su coordinación, a Roberto Capuano y a Rafael Capuello. Me da muchísimo gusto felicitar a todos el
Muchísimo
equipo.
gusto. I forgot about the word muchísimo. I like it.
Ya dijeron todo de Olínea. No voy a agregar nada nuevo. Estamos muy orgullosos de este proyecto porque, como lo dijo la presidenta, ella hizo un reto a la comunidad científica tecnológica de México y la tenemos, lo hicimos. Además de mi reconocimiento muy especial a los ingenieras, tecnólogas y tecnólogos de Olínea, pues tengo que decir.
Y muchas felicidades a todas y a todos los que forman parte de este proyecto. Lo dijo muy brevemente Roberto. Son jóvenes de distintas instituciones públicas.
Shout out to the Otto Moss YouTube channel. They put up this whole thing. Thank you. Here, like someone actually reviewing.
Como lo vieron en el título, hoy vamos de camino a conocer el que es el auto hecho por el gobierno de México. O sea, realmente hoy oficialmente hicieron la presentación el día de ayer con la presidenta, dieron un par de características. Esta primera parte del video es un poco la experiencia de lo que yo vi con otros compañeros que tuvieron ahí oportunidad de estar. Pero si nada más te interesa ver cómo es el vehículo, puedes adelantar un poquito el video, ya que ahorita va a ser un poco de características de lo que ya sabemos sobre el auto. Una autonomía de 120, 150 kilómetros con una sola carga. Entiendo las características. Déjenlo en un comentario. Digo, no sabemos si el día de mañana llegan a leerlos. Es importante que nos sigan en Instagram porque acabo de subir una historia. Bueno, oficialmente ya la acabo de publicar. Justamente donde yo le estoy preguntando a las personas que me siguen qué dudas tienen o qué pregunta le harían a los directivos de la marca como tal. Creo que es algo también buscándolos hacer parte de esto mismo. Así que digo, cualquier persona que esté interesada en el contenido que subimos por allá, que es diferente, vayan por allá y me ayudan mucho. Estoy con el buen Benny. Él también hace contenido sobre autos. Lo pueden encontrar ahí. Él trabaja más con un medio tradicional, algo más en forma. Más periodístico, podemos decirlo, ¿no?
Cosa más de viejitos, de la tercera edad.
Extensión de la palabra. Yo me diré 1.76 y hay de tener un poquito más de mi altura, pero es un vehículo que está buscando optimizar al máximo el espacio. ¿Cómo? 2 plazas delanteras, 4 plazas traseras que se ven de frente. Las puertas tienen esta apertura que permite el acceso a una silla de ruedas. Entiendo el punto porque sí está buscando ser un auto que apoye mucho la movilidad urbana. Entre los más destacables, este vehículo tiene, como bien mencionábamos, 125 kilómetros de autonomía, velocidad máxima de 50 kilómetros por hora, que yo sé que en papel, acostumbrados a un vehículo convencional, pues no es algo que quizá le llegue, siendo realistas, pero el enfoque que le están queriendo dar es algo más como esa practicidad o accesibilidad un poco más cómoda para las personas. Siento que es un vehículo que puede proponer por el tema del espacio, porque efectivamente ya somos muchas las personas aquí, pero el costo contra tal vez el equipamiento de seguridad son cosas que tal vez como que no cuadran. Y ojo, como lo decíamos, no es que es un vehículo que vaya a levantar 100 kilómetros por hora y pues quieras tener 6 bolsas de aire. La seguridad la requieres por si alguna persona te impacta.
There we go. Yep, back seats fold down. Yeah. You're cursed. You pick whichever bench. You don't get a headrest on this one. You don't get that looks not comfortable. I'm sorry. But if it's a taxi, that's great. That works fine for a taxi. But for a family,
¿Sabes? O sea, no necesariamente yo lo veo por el tema del vehículo, sino por el entorno mismo. Sí se va a manejar en entornos pues de baja circulación. Estamos de acuerdo que en la ciudad tampoco es que se pueda levantar tanto, pero quizás lo veo como opciones de movilidad para las personas que ya tienen quizás un...
All right, that's enough of the Mexico EV. I think we got the picture. It's not that important yet. We need to see it actually make it into a nationwide jobs thing.
For a fan.
Obviously the best thing would be to be in the stadium, but the prices are totally inaccessible.
$3,000.
Unbelievable. And it's like
who can pay $3,000?
Nobody can.
So instead, average Mexicans have to put up with all of the disturbances of some of these cosmetics. Some of them are,
like the airport.
The airport was
very
substantive. The Metro, they are putting in more trains, but a lot of them were cosmetic, and a lot of them were demanded by FIFA also, by the way. So FIFA says you have to do some of these things. That doesn't excuse some of the poor management of the works, right? I'm as an assiduous Line 2 user. I mean, Line 2 is a mess, and they're not going to be done.
Oh, man.
They're not going to be done.
You guys are lucky, Line 2.
Yeah.
Try Line 3. That's the one I use, and it's awful. It's awful. I mean, you have to wait for 3 trains when you're at the terminus station just to be able to board. But just to finish what I was saying quite quickly, is just that, if you can't go to the bar, if you can't go to the stadium, if you can't go to the Zocalo, where can you enjoy this? Privately in your home, maybe you invite your friends over or you get together, whoever has a big screen. I mean, they're removing the best part of this whole experience, which is like coming together, cheering for your team, right? Mexico's a cosmopolitan city. There are people from all over the world. I know one of the greatest things about when I lived in Toronto was World Cup and the different neighborhoods, like the Italian neighborhood and like the Greek neighborhood, right?
Sure.
Like it would be
It's
nuts.
fun.
And they're killing that just to make a buck.
Yeah. Now,
and we have to pay the price by having to deal with these. I'm sorry, a lot of them are bullshit works.
Yep. And poorly executed in certain important cases. Now, Scheinbaum is also not wrong when she talks about this idea that they're attempting to create an image of chaos. She quoted Ricardo Salinas Pliego, right, the head of TV Azteca, who we've talked amply about on this show, when he was saying, this is Salinas Pliego who was behind these bogus Gen Z protests, who was behind, a lot of these AstroTurf organizations that we've covered amply on the show, saying basically, well, peaceful protests don't work anymore. We've basically got to ratchet up. Why would he say that right before the World Cup begins? Why would he say that? And how is it funny that so many people that hate the teachers' union normally all of a sudden become
now they're the biggest
instant
cheerleaders.
Fans of the Cente. And that includes a lot of suspicious people in the international press who all of a sudden care about unions and social movements in Mexico when in any other circumstance they'd be punching down on them.
Yep.
Wow.
This is a very important point to make. So Scheinbaum is not wrong about that. And it's also true that this whole World Cup thing was settled under Peña Nieto together with the tax exemptions. Right? The Scheinbaum government has attempted to curtail to only this year and not to future years and the like. The 4T didn't ask for this. This was Peña Nieto. Now, do plenty of people here want the World Cup? Sure. But it's interesting that you're seeing all these headlines about chaos, in quotes, in Mexico. And I'm sorry, people, Mexico's a democracy. If you want clean, anodyne streets, go back to the dictatorship before. Go back to the way things were in 2013-14 when they cleared the Zocalo of teachers with robo-cups.
Wow.
Do you want to go back to that?
No.
If you don't want to go back to that, you have to understand that democracy is messy, and that means sometimes there are going to be protests in the streets.
That's right.
Because that's part of what democracy is about.
Yeah.
Right?
If the price of democracy is we don't get to enjoy the Zocalo during the World Cup, so be it. I mean, I'd much rather have that than repression, because I do think that if this had been a different government, we would have already seen hyper-violence from state security forces.
They would have cleared
this.
them out
There's
of here.
a large police presence. I don't want to pretend like, it's just people
Not
with
that bad, but
flowers
it
in
is
the
that
streets.
bad.
I mean, there is
Yeah.
a significant police presence, especially in these kind of zones where there could be conflict. Here in the center, it's in
And
the south
on
of
the way to the
city,
stadium.
On the way to the stadium.
Because the teachers are trying to march down to the stadium to occupy that. And the danger here, and we were talking about this just before the show, is citizen on citizen
That's
violence.
exactly what I was gonna bring
Even
up.
more than police on citizen violence. So you see, merchants here in the downtown who are expecting, basically a payout, a boon during the World Cup, and their businesses are closed, they're not getting any clientele. So you saw some roces yesterday between the downtown merchants and the teachers. And if anyone who paid, $3,000 for a ticket and then finds they can't get into the stadium, they're going to go irate. They're going to go berserk.
Yeah.
So that's why, there has to be a real clear and smart policy to manage these protests without suppressing them and the like, and not creating a situation where fans and teachers can get into something. It requires smart policing. And it's also a point that I think we have to make, Jose Luis. There are plenty of protests in the U.S. as well. People are out in the streets protesting the World Cup. People are out protesting the heavy-handed maneuvers of ICE, right? We see workers at Sophie Stadium who are planning on striking as well. I think they may have come to an agreement, Sophie Stadium in Los Angeles. But they have reserved the right to go out, walk out during the World Cup if there are ICE raids. So I think they came to an agreement on salary-related things, but reserve the right to go out if there are ICE raids there. So, of course, the headlines are on chaos in Mexico, right? And not the fact. Well, I mean, there have been also headlines in the States, but I mean, it's like they're not letting the whole Iranian team in. They didn't let a Somali referee in. They're canceling tickets for Iranians. I mean, it's just
the Iraqi team. Also,
the Iraqi team.
Yeah.
Just straight up fascism.
Yeah.
But what gets
motivated by a very deep-seated racism.
Well, by very
so
deep-seated,
evident.
absolutely clear. But what gets these kind of morbid headlines are these international correspondents that come down and see the tents over here a few blocks away, and all of a sudden have a magic newfound interest in social movements in Mexico. Welcome to social movements in Mexico. Actually, it's like this every year, and you might be more interested in seeing the historical arc of it and just kind of swooping in to try to find the sensationalist headline and then swooping back.
Yeah. I mean, in a just world, the games would have been taken away from the United States, clearly. Clearly. That was the right thing to do. Obviously, it was never going to happen, not with all the money behind this, not with all the wealthy people getting even richer off the back of this whole experience. But that's obviously what should have happened. I mean, even if you look at, I've noticed many other people making that commentary that I think it was the 2020, or no, that would have been the pandemic, but, in an earlier under-17 conference, right, Indonesia was stripped of the games because of the visa restrictions.
Yeah. Because of much less than what's happening in the U.S. right now. So there you are, really. If the Zocalo is not open, there's going to be 18 other fan fest sites scattered around the city.
Yeah, that's
and
my
in
plan.
different parts of the
What's your
country,
plan?
right? Yeah, go to one of those.
Yeah, because I still want to watch the games like everybody else, like the millions of people in this country who want to watch it. Yeah. Okay. Ready to move on to the next topic?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Let's bring the next story up here. We're going to shift gears and talk about something
good. Shift gears is very
a
good.
lot nicer. Oh, yeah. I didn't even realize that.
It just comes out naturally. You're a poet, you don't even know it.
Let's put up this headline from La Jornada. Olinea, the electric vehicle that seeks to surpass motorcycle taxis. Olinea, the low-cost Mexican electric car, has already identified its first potential market, replacing the motorcycle taxis that operate in various parts of the country.
Oh my God.
While the vehicle will have an initial cost of
It is. It's just a motorcycle. That's crazy.
150,000 pesos. Do the math for me. How much is that?
That's about $8,600. There you go. $8,600 US dollars.
It is, quote, a safe option that solves an everyday problem in our society, end quote, and does not carry the risk of accidents in which people are, quote, thrown out of the vehicle, end quote, said Roberto Capuano, the project coordinator. In an interview, he said they stand to part production in over a little bit of a year. So the idea is actually for these to be out in the market in summer 2027, which is
coming right up.
Very fast timeline.
That was a real fast rollout.
Yeah. I mean, they're still working on figuring out how to get it done. I anticipate that's going to be pushed back, but kudos to them for being ambitious and for basically creating a new vehicle segment in Mexico that does not exist in order to meet a very real demand.
Right. That's important to mention, right? That it's for a specific demand in the Mexican market that they extensively studied before doing the prototype, correct?
Yeah, because, of course, what has been the criticism? This vehicle is not going to meet anybody's needs. This vehicle is not going to be allowed on highways. It's not because it has vehicle speed restrictions. This vehicle is just improvisation of the government, et cetera, et cetera. Can we put a picture up of the actual Olinea? Because
look how cute it is.
It's also a super cute vehicle. There's President Sheinbaum at the inauguration.
Not cute,
like I said, I think the closest equivalent is the Japanese K-car. So it's a vehicle for small towns, for urban centers. It's not for...
I'm so happy to hear that I made all the correct analysis about this vehicle. It's crazy that they're like, it's a K-car. It's a K-car. Homie, what you saw it here first. We were looking up K-trucks together.
For inner city transit. It is highly modifiable. It can be highly modified in that, for example, the configuration that most people have seen, the one that the president drove, is a 6-passenger configuration. So these can be used as, as taxis. These can be used for families to move around. I thought about like how much easier it would be to take the kids to school, for example, in the morning if I had one of these vehicles, right?
Also for people who move things from the markets, to and from markets.
That's what I was going to say.
Very, very important.
And you can change the configuration to be a 2-seater and to have a pickup bed behind to move things around. I mean,
merchandise.
Exactly. Or like the bread is a huge market here, and they all of the panaderias, all of the bread makers have these little cars that are gas. All the bakers. I can't. Sorry, it's sometimes hard to keep track of English
baker, man.
and Spanish.
Yeah, right.
So you have, they all have these gas-powered vehicles or modified motorcycles. This is exactly what this vehicle can replace. Yeah. And I think that would be, first of all, a huge thing because it means less carbon burning vehicles on the roads, and they're cheaper. They're cheaper to run. It is less expensive to operate one of these small electric cars than even a motorcycle.
What the Mexican government
much less
says,
than a gas-powered vehicle.
Yeah, what the Mexican government says is that a driver that uses it 75 kilometers a day can save over...
Which is a lot. That is a lot. That's on the high end.
That's like the high end, right? Could save over 50,000 pesos a year. So that means they would amortize the cost in 3 years.
Yeah.
Right? probably more the amortization would be more for 5 years or whatever else. But remember, the maximum speed is 50 kilometers, so it'd be 30 miles or so an hour.
Yeah.
So it's important that it's understood that this is a vehicle for a specific Mexican urban need, also rural, but a specific need of people who need urban mobility for schools, for people in wheelchairs, for people with disabilities, for people moving merchandise back and forth, people who have to get to 3 or 4 or 5 different points in a city throughout the day. The idea is a kind of mobility for them, because the imported cars, are not made for that. And it's also not a coincidence that they're not attempting to compete directly with the big 3 U.S. automakers, who would lose their shit.
Yeah.
Because they can't have competition from anybody, much less the Chinese, who are making better cars for cheaper.
Well, here's just the thing, right? If anything, this kind of represents a threat to all of those electric vehicles that we've seen pop up that are used a lot here in the historic center in particular, that are basically operating outside of regulations, right? Like, are they bikes? Are they electric bikes? Some of these are much larger, right? And so they're kind of operating in a gray zone. I think it's important that they're going to kind of reconfigure.
They're creating a new regulation.
The regulations
for this.
to make it so that it is, a vehicle that is able to safely operate and abides by the rules, and that the people who are driving them, are equipped to be able to handle them, and it isn't just kind of being done on the fringes here, way that it is right now.
I think 2 more points on this, which is really important. I think the advantage of the Alinea is, besides the advantages we've already mentioned for really targeting a specific sector of the Mexican public that needs this kind of mobility, is it's going to help build out charging stations and all the like.
Yep.
The thing about Alinea is you'll be able to use it with any plug-in.
Yeah, you can plug it in your house.
You can plug it in your house.
Yeah, the regular 110 volt.
Right. So you can just you don't need a special charging station. But part of the reason why electric vehicles haven't caught on and they're kind of catching on a lot, even with the sanctions. Freudian slip. The tariffs against BYD and the like. You see a lot of BYDs around. But the problem with taking let's do a road trip throughout Mexico is there aren't charging stations. So you have to really plan, okay, I'm going to get from here to Puebla. And in Puebla, there's 1 charging station. And then I have to get from there, but from Puebla to Oaxaca, it's farther, and there isn't a charging station in the middle. So it becomes a problem. So I think the Alinea will help stimulate the build-out of charging infrastructure, which is behind in Mexico. Another point, and I think this is interesting, is the Alinea is not the be-all and end-all of the project. It's the first model. But there are going to be other future models if this works. Right? And the idea is to build up to larger, faster vehicles, right? That's the idea. This is part of the plan in Mexico is to build
the reverse of the Elon Musk idea, where it's like start out with luxury vehicles and then make our way to the cheaper vehicles. I don't know. I can see both approaches working. Like if Mexicans really do start buying these cars, like more than they would, and like swapping them out for motorcycles, or swapping them for their motorcycles, getting rid of their motorcycles, moving to cars. I don't know. We'll see. It has potential, but I don't know, man. We'll look at some of the amazingly new Chinese EVs, and I think we should just let China do all the EVs from now on, honestly. I'm going to go get something to drink, and I'll be right back, but I'll leave this.
Out Mexico's own industrial capacity using its own. I think it's 50% of the material in this Alinea is going to be Mexican generated. I think they want to pulling up to 75%. That's part of Plan Mexico. Mexico can make its own cars. Right?
Allow me to read a quote from the president upon the launch, where she says, quote, "Alinea represents much more than an electric car. It represents a seed, the seed of a new innovation ecosystem built from Mexico, the seed of a national industry that can grow from the ground up, driven by the knowledge, creativity, and work of thousands of Mexicans, the seed of a mixed economy in which universities, research centers, the state, and the creative initiative of society collaborate to develop new technologies, new solutions, and new national capabilities."
That's right.
Essentially, developing a national industry, state-led. It makes a whole lot of sense when you're thinking about the shape of Mexico's economy in 2026 and moving forward, especially given, the now increasingly more disarticulated global economy, where you need to think about the domestic industry and the domestic market. This is a car not for export. No. It's a car for Mexico, made by Mexico.
It's for a specific need, and that's what the Plan Mexico is about. Mexican needs, not the needs of export, not exporting raw materials, not exporting cheap labor, but using Mexican know-how, scientific knowledge, labor, parts, materials to solve Mexican needs. That's exactly the point of this. And as Scheinbaum has often pointed out, Mexico is one of the world's largest auto assembly countries, top 5 in the world, but it's the only one without its own car brand.
Interesting.
Until now.
Until now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wait until you get all the negative press about it, right, from the U.S. side. I remember when I was a kid, right, Yugoslavia came out with the car, the Yugo, and how they pilloried the Yugo in the U.S. So that's why I think they're clever to not create an initial model that will attempt to compete with the big three in any way, or is designed for export to the United States. Right? So it won't be seen as a threat to the whole media machine there that has to defend the big three at all costs, even at the cost of bailing them out every 15, 20 years or so.
As somebody in the comments here says, the Mexican Suburban for the Mexican soccer moms.
Yeah.
Of
course, that's it, right? You don't need to have a huge 600,000 peso car to go to the market and back, or to go to the soccer game and back, or to go to school and back, or to bring someone to their hospital appointment. Anyone who's dealt with someone with a disability in Mexico knows how difficult it is.
Tell regular people with cars that, because we have suburban, and I mean people who live in the suburbs, we have suburban people buying, Range Rovers, G-Wagons, vehicles that are very much like the G-Wagon was meant to be a safari vehicle, right? It's meant to go out into the safari of Africa, Australia, wherever, right? These are the kind of vehicles that at least suburban Southern Californians are buying. They don't want small cars. They don't want small cars. They want big cars to go places, because this is America and the apocalypse might happen at any time. And we need an all-wheel drive, big ass monster truck to be able to get away from that.
To get them onto a bus, which is rattling along and then just braking and accelerating and braking and accelerating. The poor person, you see old people falling over. In Oaxaca, you see it all the time. They're just barely grabbing on. The bus accelerates and they're thrown backwards.
How many times
they're
literally
backwards.
Caught somebody falling on a bus or on the subway.
Or in a packed metro. How do you get a wheelchair into a packed metro car? Or the metro bus or the trolley? That's what this is about. It's thought about for specific needs where public transit, however good it is in Mexico City, and public transit is very good, there's still cracks there. And one of them particularly is people with disabilities. And getting people to and from hospital appointments. Older people, for example, and people, with limited mobility, or people who are blind, or people, it's just, the list goes on.
Here's something that I think is also important. Thinking about Mexico City, thinking about the transit chaos in this city, right? And I'm not talking about public transit, I mean on the roads, right? Anytime you have to take I always try to plan my trips to see if I can, first of all, metro, right? Because I'm traveling underground or on a right of way. Second, a Metrobus, because at least they have their own lanes, right? And then the third option is always the one to take regular roads, because those are unbearable. It's an awful experience. And that's not because of the buses, it's because of the millions of cars on the road, which generate a ton of air contamination. Like the air in Mexico City is bad, not necessarily because of industry here, because most of it has been actually moved out, right? Like there's a park at Bicentenario, which used to be a refinery. Part of the reason it was closed is one of the few good things that Salinas de Gortari did was because it was contaminating the air of Mexico City. Can't have a refinery in the middle of the city. It's still a storage site though. It's turned into a park. The reason the air is particularly bad in Mexico is because of the vehicles and the trucks. If this catches on and it becomes kind of almost like the way that motorcycles are used in a lot of Asian cities, where it's like the default mode of transit.
The classic Vespa in Naples, but just it's alternative transport.
It'll improve the air. It'll make the air cleaner in this city, which is actually becoming quite a problem in terms of, right? Like when it's not rainy season here, go home and blow your nose after spending a day out on the street, and you will see what you're breathing.
Or try to put contact lenses.
What? No. It's that filthy that you blow your nose and then out comes all this soot or whatever they're talking about. That's crazy.
And see how they sting.
I mean, and obviously more can be done. I'm of the belief that we need to take more cars off the road and put in more right of
So
ways.
this in a sense is going to put more cars on the road, but they're going to be
little cute ones
that can use the secondary roads and not going to be clogging up the arteries.
Carpool lanes, all these kinds of things, right? Those are, 6 people in a car. You can fit one more person. You can't.
And you'll see them, a lot of them being used as collective taxis, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Rather than the ones that exist now. So, kudos to that.
And hopefully you get some of those awful taxis off the road. Those 30-year-old Subarus that are falling apart. Anyway, I'm excited. Plus, I think
150,000 pesos is about 25% what a standard new car here costs. You can't find a new car here for anything less than 600,000 pesos. So this is a quarter of that.
It'd be interesting to see if they could combine it with a friendlier financing offer from the state bank.
Oh, well, don't get me started on financing problems in Mexico last week.
Right? Like, it'd be nice if people could build their credit by buying these smaller cars as opposed to
building towards,
usury rates that you get from the banks. And out of the state bank, right?
Yep.
Which can run those
the Banco de
services.
Bienestar. They should be lending more. They should
I
have
don't
a
think they
full.
lend at
They
all.
should. They should turn the Bank of Bienestar into a full service bank that provides all the service that commercial banks do, instead of just operating at the periphery and the edges of that market.
Yeah, well, it attends the people who aren't being served by banks, right?
But if you want to have a real public option, they have to provide everything that the usurious banks, the bank cartel, provides.
Yeah. We have a question here from the chat. We're not going to get into it, but something hopefully we can get into in the future about the ammonia plant in Sinaloa. Speaking of environmental concerns, I appreciate the tip. We'll see if we can get to that in a future episode and see how that story develops. Please join us in the chat. We'd love to have it. I think it's one of the cool things about doing this live.
Yeah, with the chat. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next topic, Kurt. Let's talk about the American Society Gala event. Let's throw this headline up from La Jornada.
Just look at that picture.
American Society event brings together figures from the PRIAN. And for those of you who don't know, the PRIAN is a term that is used to describe the two major opposition parties.
Yeah, no. Okay, thank you, Soberania. Thank you. Sober, I can't. Too many. One more time. Sobernaria. Yeah, podcast. Thank you. Shout out to them. Okay, let's get into the next thing. Which let's look into election updates. I think Katie Porter also oh wait, no, I was gonna show y'all the Chinese EV real quick. Give me a second here.
So the concept of a Tesla Model 2 has been...
So first off, shout out to MKBHD. I used to be a big fan of him, and then I turned to not be a fan because he was so close to Elon Musk when Elon Musk was already clearly doing weird alt-right stuff, right? But since then, Elon is straight up a Nazi now, thankfully MKBHD has distanced himself from him and not been so much of a Tesla fanboy. So yeah, he has another channel called Autofocus. It's his car channel. But yeah, this 11-minute video is a great introduction to Chinese amazing car.
And intriguing for years now. People have wanted something from someone that is basically a slightly smaller, slightly cheaper, fully electric car that doesn't suck. And Chevy's actually gotten there. The Bolt has had this sneaky glow up over the past couple of years, and I've finally gotten to test the newest one. It starts at under $30,000, and it's a solid EV that genuinely doesn't suck. I think if Tesla eventually ended up making something like this, it would have a lot of things in common with this Bolt, but I've been driving the Bolt for the past couple days now, about a week, and I have a lot to show you because it actually is, it's pretty impressive. Cars like this end up being a nice sort of reminder or a benchmark to how far we've come with electric cars now. So what you're looking at is a single motor, front wheel drive, fully electric car. It's got a 65 kilowatt hour battery, and it's rated for 262 miles of range. We'll get to that in a second. It's about 210 horsepower. It'll do a 0 to 60 in 6.8 seconds, but it only weighs 3,800 pounds because it's a smaller battery, and priced as tested is under $30,000. So it's of course always going to be a tough challenge to try to make the cheapest electric car, because electric cars typically have a higher price tag because of that one really expensive part, the battery. But this Bolt, like I said, has a 65 kilowatt hour battery, so it's a bit smaller and therefore a bit cheaper, but it makes up for that by being very efficient. So that's one of the nice things. This doesn't have a ton of bells and whistles, but you can see here up at the front, it's a pretty aerodynamic shape. Obviously, it's not a gas car, so it doesn't need a huge grille at the front. So under that blacked out Chevy logo, I think it looks pretty good, obviously. Very clean, has a good coefficient of drag, the headlights over to the side, and the DRLs. So that's nice, sitting on these nice, very basics.
Bro, I'm dumb. This is not the... whatever. Okay, sorry. I'm getting distracted on the side. I think it was titled. There we go. There we go. This is it.
All right, real talk.
Oh.
The thesis to this review is if I took the badge off of this car and just put it in front of you, and you think you know a lot about cars, and I said, how much do you think this car costs? There is no way you would get it right. In fact, I think the more you know about cars, the less likely you would be to get it right. Because this car behind me right here, this is the Xiaomi SU7. I've been living with it for a few weeks now and really getting to know it. It is a Chinese EV, and it retails in China for the equivalent of roughly 40 to 45,000 US dollars. But it feels a lot more like $70 to $75,000. And so it has been really interesting trying to think of an angle of how to talk about this car, because I feel like I have two really big theories with it, two really big angles. The first one is that this is confirmation of the theory that if these Chinese EVs came to the US, that we'd be cooked. Like these things would take over, they'd be extremely competitive. They're not available here yet, but they're gonna be available in Europe soon, and they're already doing super well in China. That's like one of the main theories. The other one is that, well, it's made by Xiaomi. This feels like the closest thing to an Apple car that I've been able to review so far. I had a similar theory about a different car, but it's like, this is made by a company that makes smartphones and all kinds of other appliances. I'm shooting this video right now on a Xiaomi 17 Pro Max. The way that this phone integrates into this car and the software is crazy. So I have all these thoughts running through my head. I have a lot of things to talk about with this car, but in general, if you haven't already seen the main channel video on it, go watch that. Now this is what it's like to live with the car. So first things first, the basics. This is a dual motor, all-wheel drive electric car, about 100 kilowatt hour battery underneath. And this is the SU7 Max. There's actually a couple different specs of this. They have a regular SU7. They also have an SU7 Ultra. But anyway, this is the Max, and design-wise, it's pretty tame. It probably looks the most similar to a Porsche Taycan in a lot of the proportions and the shapes back here. But they've definitely taken cues from a bunch of other EVs too. You've got this LiDAR box up here, which they use for their full self-driving. Careful, don't want to break my phone. But there's also these very McLaren-looking headlights up at the front here.
Yeah, those are nice.
This front kind of has Lotus lines to me. These wheels also with these big yellow Brembo brakes. A little bit less Porsche Taycan-like, but overall,
I know this is like
a pretty
a
normal
$42,000 vehicle, but this is like close to like a $80,000 vehicle, like, or $100,000 vehicle. You know, that's crazy.
silhouette, if you ask me. I think it looks pretty good. It's actually understated. And then you go to the back here. This is where your charge port is. Obviously, that's a Chinese charge port, so it's not going to look like your normal CCS or NACS, but that is where you charge. I had to use a pretty serious adapter. There's also an active wing back here that you can move up and down, and underneath the wing is hidden some specs by Xiaomi. 21,000 RPM motors. 838 Newton meters of torque. Very cool. But you know what they say, anyone can make a good looking car. Where it really starts to get interesting is when you get inside this car. So, here's my key card. Let's get inside and show that, shall we? All right. Driver's seat first. Immediately, this is way more impressive. This is a spacious, really clean cabin with a whole bunch of headroom and all this tinted sunroof above me. These really comfortable leather seats, a whole bunch of contrasted materials and stitching, and everything is super well built. There's ambient lighting. And of course, this wheel in front of me looks and feels a lot like that Porsche wheel with these little stalks at the bottom and then the general shape of the thing. It's heated. The seats are heated and ventilated. There's the back seat that we'll get to in a second. You've got this screen in the middle. You have a bright HUD behind the steering wheel. You have a tiny display in front of the steering wheel. You have a camera that's watching you for self-driving. You've got a thin bezel-less mirror. You've got Alcantara headliner and these magnets. Everything is so nice in this car. So right off the bat, feels nothing like a $42,000 car. And then you also get to use the car and you realize the software is really, really good. So this is the 16-inch display in the middle of the car that does basically everything. There's a couple physical controls as well to raise and lower the suspension and the wing and your HVAC controls, fan speed up and down. That's nice that you have physical buttons for that. But you mostly do everything else on the center display. It's also got some stuff attached to it, which I'll get to in a second. But basically it's got this paneled layout that you can expand and contract, make big panels or small panels. The mapping service doesn't work here in the US, but pretty intuitive stuff. And then you've got all these apps that you can open and install more from the App Store. But even more importantly in the US, you might be wondering if there's CarPlay, and yeah, there is still wireless Apple CarPlay, and it's huge. It's this massive full-screen CarPlay, which is super cool. So everything you're expecting it to be able to do, it does it all. Then you have a ton of these controls for how the vehicle drives, how the vehicle behaves, and you also have connectivity to, let's say you have, I don't know, a Xiaomi smartphone, because you've got a Xiaomi car, and you are wirelessly charging your Xiaomi smartphone on the 50-watt cooled wireless charger in the middle of the car.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's a super fast wireless charger, by the way. So then you can pop this up here and hit the Xiaomi interconnectivity button, and as long as you're signed into your Xiaomi account on the same account that your Xiaomi smartphone is connected to, you can hit this button, and you're using your phone. This is now the interface.
Crazy.
Actually,
That's
I think
so
I can light
crazy.
this up so you
I
can
want
have a little
that.
bit of proof. So this is using the Xiaomi smartphone remotely. This is the exact type of thing I would expect Apple to do if they made an Apple car, is give you that type of remote use. So that is super sick. And then these attachments. So this is a totally optional attachment, a module that you attach to the top screen of this car. This is also an optional attachment that you can add to the bottom, which gives you these USB cables that you can give to someone in the back seat. Totally optional. These are modules that actually talk to the car's software. So I hit smart devices, and this smart dashboard up here, I can turn that on. It's got a couple other things like a walkie-talkie system, which is charging down here. It's also got the smart underglow lights, which you might have seen in the first part of this video and wondered why there's underglow. There's also a karaoke microphone, all sorts of things that are attached to this car. And there's also more that you can buy. You can have these little strips of light that attach to the side and light up like with your music.
That's cool. Okay, sorry, hold on. I need to take a little screenshot real quick.
Years ago, people that lived in front of the rail yards, people that lived in front of the warehouses in the Inland Empire in LA and all across the US weren't fighting for diesel to be out of their community.
Like having to live right next to this.
Oh, that's crazy. There's this one picture with the beautiful mountains in the background. Bear with me here, bear with me. Part 2.
In the last decade, the Inland Empire has become a national logistics hub, due in part to the abundance of cheap land and its proximity to two major ports.
A lot of those imports, they get unloaded at the ports of Long Beach and LA, and they go through LA into Riverside and San Bernardino, and then from here, either through trucks or through freight, are pushed out to the rest of the country.
For the city of Fontana, that has meant the building of dozens of warehouses, often backing right up to polluted areas, and at least 500 truck trips daily. On top of Fontana has been called California's epicenter of warehouses. There are more than 50 of them, including centers for UPS and Amazon that take up more than 16 million square feet throughout the city. That's like 4.5. This is the neighborhood today. More than 20.
Let me take a little screenshot real quick. Get those mountains in the background. Do that. Perfect. Okay. Now we'll save that. Here we could go back to the Xiaomi.
And all of this would show up here and you can turn it on or off. So this is like this totally interesting modular car interface that I've never seen before. We can buy accessories for your car and add them, subtract them, make it super modular, minimalist or maximalist. I've never seen anything like this before. And it's all so good and it works so well. Yeah. Then, okay, there are the modes of this car. So right down here is your drive mode selector. If I flip that, it'll go from comfort to sport.
Wow.
To sport plus. And all the settings for these different modes, if you go into driving, are all controllable here. You also have custom profiles if you want, and you have the ability to break down like how much rear wheel or front wheel bias you have and how much creep there is when you come to a stop and when the spoiler deploys and all this other stuff. Really, really customizable drive mode settings. So in, let's see, comfort mode, which is probably the mode you can leave it in the most often, the car rides really nice. In fact, I think I'd like to be a passenger in it in comfort mode because for the most part, the suspension, the air suspension is super pliable. It erases the bumps on the road. And yeah, it's something I could drive around people in the back seat and they'd be totally comfortable in. And speaking of the back seat, this is what that feels like. Behind a 6'3" driving position, I feel like I have a pretty good amount of room, definitely more than a Taycan. This is kind of like Model 3 type of legroom. And then over here, of course, you have this Xiaomi display, which will also control the car and give you HVAC controls. So Xiaomi tablet, control even more of the car with that. Ambient lighting back here, tinted windows, whole bunch of sunroof. Comfort mode is nice. You'd want to be in the back seat of this car during comfort mode. It feels as good as any Lucid or Model S's air suspension. But this is kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing because the thing, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, has like 700 horsepower, which is crazy. So that means it does all the straight line tricks too. It does the launch control. It does the 0 to 60 in like 2.5, 2.8 seconds or something ridiculous. And it will go on to do probably a 10.5 second quarter mile. I haven't measured it, but it feels like it's that quick. And that's all from sport mode. So if I hit that drive mode button, it'll give me a temporary 20-second boost of power of maximum responsiveness to the accelerator pedal. And then I can cancel it by hitting it there. So even if you're not in sport mode, you can get all the fun of merging onto a highway or an entrance ramp or whatever just for those 20 seconds. Every feature you can think of from an EV, all the best stuff from all the other parts of the car world are all shoved into this car, including things I've never seen like the great software and the screen mirroring and the modules. It's just, there's so much. There really is so much. I've probably forgotten to mention some things. There's even this little corner module slot where I can put a little magnetic mounting slot for a phone. I showed you these buttons already, but there's also this soft opening center console storage, which is super nice. The card key goes here, but these 50-watt wireless chargers are still super fast, like I said. I'm kind of at a loss for words. I was conservatively saying like this is a $70,000 to $75,000 car. I think it's actually more than that. If you're going to compare it to a Taycan, and you're going to compare it to a Model S and a Lucid, this is starting to feel like a 6-digit car. My number one favorite feature is it's a pretty quiet car overall. So if you're driving in comfort mode, the active noise cancellation from this 25 speakers around the car do a really good job of making it feel silent. The seal from the windows makes it super silent. But also, if you are navigating, it separates out the navigation voice and puts it just in the speaker behind the driver's head. So all of the rest of the music of the car stays playing full volume, and you just get a little voice behind you instead of ducking all of the music for the music volume while it says your instructions for driving. It's really nice that it does that. I actually don't really know how it does that. It seems to work with any phone I pair to the car. It's amazing. So, okay, there's a lot going on here. Extremely well-built car, really good fundamentals, really good specs, really good build quality, really good software. It kind of doesn't have any downsides, and it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. It looks really tame and chill, and yet it has all that horsepower and it has all those features. And I think the question a lot of people ask themselves is, yeah, if this came to the US, would it succeed? Would it be really good? I don't think there's any question. Yeah, it would cook. But tariffs, import fees, etc., it's not happening in the US anytime soon. But if you can get your hands on a car like this, whether that's in Europe in 2027 or if that's somewhere in Asia where they already sell it, I'm not shocked if you pull the trigger. This is a really impressive car. Yeah, I've seen the light. Let me know, would you buy a car like this if you could in the US?
Yes, I totally would. I would
Thanks.
totally buy a car. I would prefer this car over the Claudia Scheinbaum car. Okay, okay. All right, all right. Let's read this story from IECN. All right. By Manny Sandoval. Posted a week ago. Council member John Echevarria launches Colton mayoral bid with People First Vision. John Echevarria still remembers the moment public service first became real to him. He was just a child at career day in San Bernardino when police officer and dispatcher and police K-9 arrived for a demonstration. What stayed with him was not only the uniform or the dog, but the way the officers carried themselves and spoke about serving the communities where they lived. I was very inspired by the professionalism of the officers and the dispatcher that came out to our school that day, Echevarria said. I learned that most officers live within the city they serve. A lot of them give back to the community where they grew up, and they're proud of that. Decades later, Echevarria is a Colton councilman, San Bernardino police lieutenant, husband, father of 4, and candidate for mayor in the now city's November 3rd, 2026 general election. His campaign comes at defining moments for the city as Colton continues facing issues familiar across the Inland Empire: affordable housing, traffic safety, public safety, small business retention, aging infrastructure, and residents who want more responsive local governments. For Echevarria, the campaign is also deeply personal. At 16, his sister, Teresa, was killed in 1995 at the age of 18. At that time, he said he was uncertain about his future and did not know yet what direction his life would take. Seeing police officers, firefighters, paramedics, hospital staff, and personnel respond to the tragedy changed how he viewed public service. I was on a different path, Echevarria said. I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself, and it was again inspiring to see the professionalism by the officers and the firefighters, by the paramedics that had handled the incident. That experience, he said, helped us push him towards law enforcement and later civic leadership. Raised in the housing projects on the west side of San Bernardino by a single mother, Echevarria said his childhood included financial hardship, welfare, food stamps, and periods of instability. He said he'd never met his father and learned early to work, study, and defend himself. My mom had to drop out of high school, so we figured out how to do our homework on our own with our siblings. He attended Alessandro Elementary, wow, Wilson Elementary, Martin Luther King Middle School, Golden Valley Middle School, Cajon High School, and Colton High School. Before and during his school years, he worked as a field laborer, picking oranges, grapes, lemons, and limes, and later worked at a car wash, including Centerpoint Car Wash in Colton. There, I learned more hard work and improved my Spanish speaking skills, and I learned how to budget my money, he said. After graduating from the police academy at 19, Echevarria became a police cadet in Upland. Ooh, what a difference. And completed more than 250 ride alongs. He was hired by Upland Police Department on his 21st birthday. The chief of police came in and swore me in on Sunday in front of my late mother and late brother. Right after swearing in, I went to my first roll call off to serve the streets at 21 years old. He joined the San Bernardino Police Department in 2002 and held numerous assignments, including patrol, canine SWAT, crisis negotiation, field training, blah, blah, blah. In 2004, he was promoted to lieutenant and became Western District Commander. Echevarria has been recognized for his public safety work, which includes receiving life-saving awards, blah, 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 San Bernardino Valley College, Cal State San Bernardino, degree in public master administration. Okay. He was the first elected to city council in 2020, representing then District 5. He was later re-elected to represent District 4. He has also served as a planning commissioner and mayor pro tempore. Echevarria said his approach to local governments begins with residents. We have an organizational chart here in the city of Colton, he said. At the very top of it is the citizens of Colton. It is not the mayor, it is not the city council. It is not any other elected, and it is not the city manager. The people are first. If elected mayor, Echevarria said his priorities would include public safety, customer service, and community success. Okay. When people talk about public safety, they think police, they think fire. But I'm also talking about all city employees. This is a team effort. That's true. During his time on council, Echevarria said one of his proudest accomplishments was supporting cost of living increase and emergency pay. Okay, but like everyone would do that for the place they worked at. We had to take a measure to give them an increase of benefits and pay wise to. Who cares, brother? Okay, outside City Hall, the police department at Echevarria helped launch the Colton Run Club, which he said become the city's first known running club in decades. The club has grown to about 25 steady members and organized a March 2026 5K that drew more than 1,000 registered runners. Okay. I did some research and who cares about the running club? I mean, shout out to runners, but this guy sounds like he's doing all this stuff. Oh, paid for by the John Echevarria for mayor 2026. Yikes. Why are we posting this? How much did we pay for this? How much did IECN get from this? Dude, your words are bought and paid for. I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know, man. Look at all these tags. Okay. Now we got to look into this guy, see what kind of person he is. Does he have an Instagram? He does. Okay, wait, let's see. Okay. Supporting quesadillas, free meals for kids. I don't know what this okay. Shout out to that kid that yeah. Okay, we're just doing advertisements. I don't know what that means. Okay, so homie's a cop. CSUSB CBU. Is this his wife? Happy 25th wedding anniversary, my beautiful wife. Exactly 1/4 century ago today, you made me the proudest man in the world when you became my wife. Ugh. Okay, whatever. I just want to know what his politics are. Here.
This is John Echeverria for Colton. In 1996, my mom moved me to Colton, California, and this was my first job here. At this car wash, I learned how to vacuum cars, I scrubbed the cars, I'd run back, I would drive the cars, and later detail the cars. That break room right there was where I spent my summers doing homework for college. I would run next door, I'd have a burger, I'd eat it as fast as I could, and get back on the line. Here, as a young man, I learned the value of hard work, how to balance my budget. I learned some Spanish speaking skills, and I also learned how to resolve complaints.
Wait, he doesn't know how to speak Spanish? This man does not know how to speak Spanish? He looks like he should speak Spanish.
Well, fast forward now to 2026. I am now a police officer, I am a council member, and the community has gotten behind me and asked me to run for mayor of Colton, California. I've accepted that honor for the people. I am running a grassroots campaign, and if you can help donate, please click on the link, make a donation. Also, if you want to help us volunteer, please send me a message. Our campaign, our election is this November. Please get behind us, and together we can win this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Here. I'm gonna follow him, send him a message. Be like, please come on my stream. I'd love to ask you questions. Okay, here we go. Say hi there. We'll hit him with my usual pitch. Hi there. I'm a local independent journalist. Focused on helping, i.e., residents learn more about the politics that affect them every day. I would love to have you on the stream for an interview. To talk about your mayoral bid, your Colton mayoral bid. All right, there we go. Hi there. I'm a local independent journalist. Good luck getting this guy. Yeah. Focused on helping IE residents learn more about the politics that affect them every day. I would love to have you on the stream for an interview to talk about your Colton mayoral campaign. Well, maybe I'll just say Colton mayoral bid. I'll be like, here's my stream. There we go. There we go. Perfect. All right. Thank you, Mr. Echevarria. Please come on the stream. Love to talk to you. You're a councilman so far? That's pretty cool. Seems like, oh, look, there he is at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. My former employer.
6, 5, 4.
What
3,
are they doing?
2, 1.
What is this? It was an amazing day to be able to witness match day at California University of Science and Medicine, located right here in. Oh yes, this is right here at ARMC. match day. I have no idea what match day is. I guess that must be for like meds or something. Oh my god, he tried to cover up the name and it doesn't act, it still shows it. Oh no. Homie, you posted this and it still has the sensitive information still uncovered. Who was this? Saba Fatima Ahmed? And his whole numbers there? Did anyone call it out in the comments? Oh no. Okay. CUSM? I don't Cal State, California University of Science and Medicine. Did they ask the same people that built this at CSUSB? Jeez. Okay. Psychiatry, University of Arizona Tucson. Oh my god, all of these people are coming from different places to work at Arrowhead. Damn, that sucks. Okay.
Chivero Colton Run Club. I wanted to come on today and ask everyone to save the date. Mark your calendar for Saturday, March 7th, 2026 at 8 a.m. We are going to have our first ever Colton Run Club 5K race. I'm standing on the race course. This is the intersection of Cooley Drive and Old Ranch Road. The course goes out Cooley Drive.
He's such a cop. Like I feel like he doesn't know how to talk to people without being a cop, but that's okay. That's okay. You know. Shout out to Chad Bianco. He made it pretty far. Oh my god, look at here he is in his running clothes. Oh, that's kind of cute. I would join the Colton Red Club. Damn, running in the dirt. Okay. Loki, this is great. This is great. Good third space. Okay. Wait, now let's city public agenda and minutes. Past agenda. City council meetings. Let's see. Most recent one. 6-3. Let's see if he's there. Oh yeah, he is. Okay, let's see him in action.
Staff presentation by Deputy Chief Clerk Stephanie Vargas.
Well, hello. All right. Well, welcome to today's workshop on SB 707. This is going to be exciting. I know you guys wanted the long version, so I made sure to. Just kidding. All right. So we're going to jump right into it. This presentation is going to be to just inform you of the changes that have happened due to SB 707. I do want to let you know I did break it up in two pieces. The first half is going to be the significant changes that we're really going to feel, see, and experience. The second half, we're going to kind of breeze through them just so you're aware, but these are things that aren't going to affect us too much. Okay. So this first slide is just, I know you guys line through a program like Zoom.
Who's the person talking?
I'm not sure why it's not showing up here, but there's supposed to be a meeting and stuff, but let's just push ones both outside and on our city website for these substantial.
Okay, hold on. Let's just see a normal city council meeting. Oh no.
Good evening and welcome to the first portion of our council meeting today. At this time, I would like to call to order the closed session portion of the regular meeting of the City of Colton, Colton Utility Authority, Colton Public Financing Authority, and the Colton Housing Authority of the City of Colton. Today is Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026, and it is approximately 5:01 p.m. Mr. Sucho, would you please do roll call?
Thank you, Mayor. For the record,
following members are present. Councilmember Toro, Mayor Pro Tem Chastain is absent. Councilmember Gonzalez, Councilmember Esferia, and you yourself, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on any one of the items on closed session agenda? Seeing none, I would like to ask our city attorney to please read us into closed session.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. This evening, the Council has two items. One, conference legal counsel in the case of Leandra Guerrero v. City of Colton, and these, actually 3 items. And the second item is the conference of labor negotiators and the employee groups are designated on the agenda. And the third item is a public employee performance evaluation of the city manager. Thank you.
Thank you. We will adjourn to closed session and reconvene at approximately 6 p.m.
Okay, there. Everyone, all the council members are there.
Yeah. So moving on with the agenda, we come to mayor and council items. First, gift disclosures. Any council members have anything to disclose? Hearing none and seeing none. We move on to AB 1234 oral reports, and these are reports by council members who have attended any meetings or conferences at the city's expense to disclose. Councilmember Chastain.
Thank you. I just wanted to report that myself and Councilmember Gonzalez, we both went to the city-county conference that was up in Arrowhead, and it was a report of how the county was doing. And then there was a couple of breakout classes, mainly on AI and housing, as we all know, the fun issue that's going on. It was very interesting. Got to meet a lot of people, and the highlight was that our city had a booth there from our utility department, I believe it was, and it was excellent. So it was nice to be seen that we were represented well, and they did a great job. So it was a pleasure to go and be a representative of Colton. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Luis Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two. The first one was the one that I shared with Councilmember Chastain on Thursday and Friday, May the 14th and 15th. It was the city-county conference in Lake Arrowhead, and it included networking, lunch, breakfast, several guest speakers, and interesting panel discussions. The first panel discussion was about the regional airports in San Bernardino in Ontario, and the second one was on housing, like Mayor Pro Tem mentioned. The sessions I attended were about opportunity zones, 1, preparing the next generation of the county's workforce.
Who was this old man talking?
2, a legislative roundtable featuring, this was an interesting viewpoint, featuring the role and impacts of lobbyists. And then finally, an economic update, and that was my favorite one.
Luis S. Gonzalez.
It was in San Bernardino County. So I'd like to thank the city for providing this opportunity.
Elliot J.
The second one I attended was on May the 20th. It was on a Wednesday, and this is the 2026 joint meeting of the Inland Empire Riverside Mountain Divisions of the League of California Cities. About 150 people attended this event, including networking, lunch, a legislative briefing of important Senate bills and Assembly bills, and a very, very interesting panel of law enforcement leaders, including Chad Bianco, Sheriff of Riverside County, Shannon Dicus, Sheriff of San Bernardino County, Larry Gonzalez, Chief of Police in Riverside, Rudy Lopez, Chief of Police in Ontario, and William Hutchinson, Police Lieutenant from Palm Springs. A major part of the discussion was about Prop 36 and why we need to implement this. And this was very interesting. The second topic was the use of technology in law enforcement, and a very surprising presentation on a move to try to roll that back. Very, very surprising. There was a lot of very interesting discussions on this. The final topic was the state budget for June the 15th, which is coming up. I would like to thank the city for providing me the opportunity to attend this joint meeting and panel discussion. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Toro?
Yes, I attended the ICSC in Las Vegas, and we met with a lot of individuals that want to come to the city or are already in the city. Las Plaza Glorias, Data Brothers Amel, fitness centers, and other. And I attended with the mayor, Heidi Duran, and Charles Berry. Thank you.
Thank you. Myself, I traveled with my traveling companions, our Assistant City Manager, Charles Berry, our Community Development Director, Colton. The second effort was to see if there was a possibility in an upcoming bill to see if we could include the fly that has prevented us from developing our city fully, to delist it off of the protected species list through legislation. We talked to the Bureau of, talked to the Department of the Interior. We talked to the Department of Fish and Wildlife and their staff. We talked to Senator Adam Schiff and his staff. We talked to Alex Padilla's staff. And then we talked to Congressman Pete Aguilar's staff. And we came back with a good, solid feeling that there is momentum and that we're going to continue to build on that as we move forward, so that we can, maybe not in the near future, but somewhere down the road, that we're able to accomplish that and we can open areas here in the city of Colton that we cannot develop because of this fly that's supposedly or allegedly living there. So keep your fingers crossed for us so that our next trip up there provides more fruition to it. I also went to the International Center for Shopping Center Conference with Councilmember Toro and Mr. Berry and, again, Director Duron. And we did have a couple of real strong, successful meetings up there with a couple of corporations. One of them was, as was mentioned, the owners of Plaza Las Glorias, and the other one was a QSR for Taco Bell and some quick service restaurants. And we also left our baited hooks up there too. We had 11 meetings in one day. Discussion items. We do have a public hearing. The public hearing tonight is AB 2561, which is the City of Colton Annual Recruitment Report. Mr. Clerk, if you would please.
Yes, Mayor, please open the public hearing.
The public hearing is now open.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no cards for this card. I think staff's going to do a presentation.
Okay. Staff presentation will be conducted by Human Resources Director Tom Cody. Mr. Cody, if you would please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Hey.
Tonight we're fulfilling the requirements of
1932 back
Assembly
there.
Bill
Hell yeah.
2561, which was approved in 2024. AB 2561 requires cities to hold a public hearing on their vacancies and the status of recruitment and retention efforts. During this fiscal year, HR has reviewed close to 3,000 applications and promoted 52 individuals. I'm happy to report that due to the actions of the city manager and the city council over the past 5 years, the city's recruitment and retention has improved dramatically. During the previous decade, from 2011 to 2020, Colton faced significant fiscal constraints that caused salary scales to drop well below the regional averages. As a result, Colton became a training ground for other local agencies where employees gained experience in Colton and left for other better paying opportunities. The city also had difficulty attracting and recruiting top-notch talent. In the last 5 years, the city established a hire and retention bonus program for the safety programs, as well as the electric department. 2023, the city council gave a 10% across the board wage increase for all full-time staff. In 2024 and 25, the city implemented the city's labor plan salary adjustments, bringing Colton to the 50% 5 of the 9 bargaining units, close to that. Happy to answer.
Second by Mayor. Terminate the public hearing. Dr. Gonzalez moves to close. Second by Mayor Pro Tem. We move on to public comment. Public comment is now open. Mr. Sucho, do we have cards for public comment?
I do, Mr. Mayor, but I have 2 cards from Carlos Gonzalez, indicates open public comment, and then he has consent items number 19.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gonzalez?
Sorry, if it's a Teamster.
Is this just for clarification?
Oh my God, it is a Teamster. Okay, he's out there. That's Carlos Gonzalez. He's one of the business agents / organizer, or I don't know. I think he's higher up. He's pretty high up there.
And not on 19?
This is public comment only.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Happy June 2nd. I know everyone's hopefully went out and voted or voted early. So this is an important day I think for us as citizens, Americans in this country, where we make our voice heard and what we want.
Why did they all stand?
That varies throughout the dinner table, whether it's moral issues, whether it's wages, gas, speed rails, whatever we discuss at the dinner table, and we discuss about how we're going to vote along those lines. And I think today is something that is important to all of us and near and dear, because it's one of the greatest rights we enjoy as American citizens.
Voting.
Is to be able to voice our opinions and put our vote on a candidate or an issue, and that's how we're going to move forward, and we put our belief in that. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we have buyer's remorse, right? Sometimes we support our elected officials like we support our baseball and football teams, which is unfortunate. But
Damn.
As I move on, our members of Teamsters Local 1932, both general unit and mid-management unit, hopefully feel confident we'll be voting on a contract pretty soon, a new MOU. And that vote is going to be a reflection of conversations that our members are having around the dinner table. Health and welfare, wages, career ladder. Those are all decisions, heavy decisions that you as a council, city manager, and everyone, HR, everyone involved in that, those are heavy decisions that you have to make. And we appreciate that, and we respect the decisions that you have to make. But the voice that we enjoy as Americans when we vote, we're going to make that decision as members when we vote on that MOU. And that vote is going to be based on an increase in health and welfare, a realistic, viable health and welfare increase, one that we don't have to look at vacancies. And we do appreciate everything that the city has done, but when you look around, members having to put money out of their pocket or making decisions on whether they're going to put their family on the medical or put them on Cover California, they shouldn't have to make that decision. They work for the city of Colton. They shouldn't have to make a decision whether they put them on a welfare system type medical. Should be covered by the city. So they're going to make that voice heard when they vote on their contract. They're going to make that voice heard when they vote on a wage increase. And they're going to make that voice heard when they vote on their career ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And that voice is going to be loud and proud, whether it's yes for an acceptance or no for a rejection. But it's going to be a loud Teamster voice, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Karen Contreras.
No, come on. Okay, there we go.
Good
You also a
evening.
Teamster?
My name is Karen Contreras, and I'm a resident of Ritchie Canyon on the Colton side. Here's an update. Good news, there's no maulings. Yay. We are communicating better in the canyon. There was a resident who reported a donkey looked injured, and she alerted all the neighbors in the neighborhood, and she put the donkey in her field until the animal control came in the morning to check her out. Someone, so, she just wanted the residents to know what's going
her
on.
name Karen with
why
a C?
that donkey was in her field.
Karen with a
someone
C, that's
reported 4
crazy.
jacks, or what quantity of on the Colton our homes for fire season?
I just want to let everyone aware.
Okay.
Working? Yeah. Oh, there it goes. I just want to let everyone aware. My name is Angela Wilkinson. I'm a resident of Colton, and I'm also a volunteer for Immaculate Food Distribution for the last 6 years. So I wanted to invite the council and also the staff members, if they want to come. The second Tuesday of each month, we do food distribution for the community, for USDA. So thank you very much.
That was the last
No more
public
questions.
comment.
There being no more requests for public comment. Public comment is now. Mayor and council oral reports, and we'll start with Councilmember Echavarria this time.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start off with a request from a constituent. And he wanted me to read it out loud, so this message is regarding the maintenance of the outer perimeter of the Pacific Glen housing tract located between Cooley Drive. Questions have gone unanswered and no solution for the issue has been suggested. I feel the area has become an eyesore, and as a property owner since 1995, I would hope the city will work with the residents to come up with a solution. Signed, a concerned resident, first name is Al. And that's the housing tract there. There's 4 of them at Cooley and Cooley. It's the southeast housing tract. My next thing is for the constituent, Mrs. Contreras, regarding the second inquiry about the trees leading over. If you could do me a favor, if you could send me that in an email or send me the photographs, I'll try to get down there as well. I know which trees you're talking about, but being the second time, we should have probably got to it the first time. So I thank you for that. And then I want to thank out loud, and it's not exclusive to, but, or should I say congratulate. I want to congratulate the class of 2026. Because as you see all the social media, you see all the postings about students that have graduated high school, college, universities, or even being promoted. And some of our kids up here on the dais, our kids had a big week this week. So for some, it's another day or another celebration, but for some of us, it's a very big deal. So congratulations to all the grads from Colton High School, Grand Terrace High School, Washington High School, Slover Mountain High School, Colton Middle School, Terrace Hills Middle School, the charter schools in town, the local universities and colleges, and all of the Colton elementary schools. And then lastly, I want to close off by thanking our members of our Teamsters for coming in today. And as I mentioned before, you could have been anywhere else, and you wanted to come here and you wanted to share some important messages. So thank you for your time. Thank you.
That's crazy. I think it's safe to say Teamsters is behind him. All right.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. And as always, please continue to support our local businesses. They're working really hard to provide service for our residents and help our economy. So make sure you stop and shop and eat in Colton. Friendly reminder, we have food distribution available at many churches throughout the week. Plus, our community services has food distribution at the Lukey Center twice a month. I believe our next one is next week, Thursday, June the 11th from 4 to 6 p.m. And reminder that all the programs that our community great development. Just a pastor, Mr. Pete, I was able to attend the Colton High School showcasing many resource organizations. Both were great events for our community. And then finally, anyone who might be interested, my City Talk online program on Saturday is focused on Colton history. The time has been changed to 4 o'clock p.m. And the topic this Saturday is Colton 1887, a history of the very beginnings of our city. Okay. So if you'd like more information, you can text me or tune in on Saturday at 4 o'clock on my Facebook page.
Oh, on his Facebook page. All right, hold on. We got to log into Facebook. Oh, okay, good. I'm in. What is his name again? It was here we go. It was Luis S. Gonzalez. Here we go. Oh, nope. I'm doing the old person thing. Here we go. Search. Okay. What is this old man? Okay, Dr. G, Dr. Luis S. Gonzalez. So, damn. Oh my God. What a nerd. I kind of low-key like this guy now. I was making fun of his voice, but maybe. Oh, okay, good. Mary Alice is friends with him. Let's see, 1 hour ago. Okay, well, I guess I gotta follow him. Add him as a friend. Okay. June 10th, City Talk. Morning, Monday through Friday. Oh, where's his little podcast? Oh my God, Dr. G, he drives around? No, he has a Subaru Forester. No. Bro, okay. Okay, he drives around City of Colton. Damn. He's actually pretty involved. Okay. Dr. G, I like you. Okay, let's see. Where's his little podcast? Look at it. He even posts apartments for rent. There he is. The Subaru Forester. Hilarious. Damn. I want to live in Colton. Okay. Let's see. Reels, I guess? Oh, he plays trumpet.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to City Talk with Dr. G. This program, each and every will recognize the tune, but it's
Went to University of Cincinnati. Brother, where is your little podcast? Okay, I guess let's go to photos. Albums? Profile pictures. It has He got reviews. That's funny.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to City Talk with Dr. G. This program, each and every Sunday
June
morning,
7th.
is called Walk Through the Bible, and the whole goal of this program is to get through every single book of the Bible, both Old Testament and New Testament. There's 66 books, so it takes a
Oh.
year and a few months to get through all the different books, but the goal is to talk a little bit about the author and the probable date, a little background information, some of the main themes, Dr. G's 3 favorite verses in the book, Dr. G's favorite passage in the book, and then some closing comments.
He refers to
Also, part
himself
of
in the
this
third
program
person.
is to present a hymn and talk a little bit about this hymn. The one I selected today is one that I think most people have heard, Onward Christian Soul. Sabine Baring Gould, born in England. Sabine Baring Gould, born in England. Education using tutors, if you will. This is in reference to that.
Okay, that got 200 views. This one got 300. June 6th.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to City Talk with Dr. G. This program, each and every Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m., is Colton History and or National Day. So the topic in today's discussion is Colton 1887, and I subtitled it The Beginning. Now, 1887 is the date the city of Colton became incorporated and became a city. So we're going to start from the very beginning, and my plan over the next few weeks is to take 20-year chunks and cover it. For example, next week we'll talk about 1887 to about 1900, and then do the next 20 years, and then the next 20 years, and the next 20 years, all the way up to modern times. So it should be pretty exciting. Feel free to tune in for that. Also, part of today's program is the National Day. Now, today is June the 6th, so the National Day is D-Day, and where we celebrate the invasion on Normandy Beach during World War II. That was June the 6th, 1944. So we'll talk about that today. Colton 1887, which I already did just a little bit. David Dowdy Colton, the namesake for our city, the incorporation in 1887, which is what I mentioned.
Oh,
Virgil
no.
Earp from the very famous gunslinger Earp family. He was our first police chief, and at that time was called a city marshal.
What?
Earp House. This is the
One of
actual-
the Earp brothers, or I mean, one of the Earp relatives, was the first police chief of Colton? No way.
house that Virgil Earp lived in when he was the marshal for the city of Colton, which still stands. It's on H Street. And then I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about the first schoolhouse that was built, which was on La Cadena Avenue, and at that time was called 8th Street. As I mentioned before, we will dispense with the voices of the neighborhood today, but resume with that next week. And then I'll have some closing comments. So this plan I'll put here in case you want to take a screenshot of it, and away we go. Now, I took a picture of this. This is the D-Day memorial that is taken. This is on an amphibious military operation required road company, Southern Pacific Railroad Company, and he was a very important person as far as the railroad crossing from the LA area all the way across country when he was 21. And what
Nope. Hard pass. Wow. Damn, look at all these Facebook people. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna do it too. I'm gonna message him. Hi there. I am a small, no. Local independent journalist. Oh my god, autocorrect. There we go. Politics of the Inland Empire. I would love to have you on stream for an interview. There we go. Okay, I'll just say thank you much. Thank you much, Dr. G. That's what he goes by. It's important to always remember how to talk to your audience. All right, we'll see. Okay, that is crazy. At least I have him on Facebook now. Yeah, this guy right there. I don't know. I haven't heard the lady talk at all. Let's see.
To the churches and so forth, from quotes, which is awesome. I think it's great to see. But that was a good event as well out here in our front
Billy
of the City
Chastain.
Hall, and it was well attended. I think it gets longer, the line of participants, which is awesome. I think it's great to see that people want to participate in giving a few words, and the words are given. If you don't have words, they'll provide them for you from the churches. Pete Tanoska is involved in that, and from quotes from our founding fathers to scriptures to small prayers. And it was really good to see. Beautiful day. Couldn't have had it better, a day for it. And so I just wanted to say thank you to those that helped put that together, from our community development, community services department to the churches and so forth. Then last is I got notice. I called Victor from our public works talking about the Colton Avenue signal, the left turn signals. It's that intersection. You want to say north, south, and east and west, but it's not north, south, east, and west. It's cattywampus. Like that word, cattywampus. Anyway, we do have that's going to go out to bid shortly, so it's still in the works, and we should see that hopefully by the end of the year, if not by the first of next year. I think is what we're scheduled for. Hopefully, I know there's things that go on that, but I just know there's some of my residents out there wondering about that. And then after this, the meeting, if I can speak to our chief of police, I just have a couple of items that some residents gave me. So with that, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Tora?
Thank you. So the only thing left is the groundbreaking that we attended today for the new Holiday Inn Express. It has been a long time coming. Thank you, Heidi, because it's going to be moving forward, hopefully, and we'll see something pretty soon with that happening. So also have a Marco's Pizza coming, and
to obtain some of those grants for projects that we are working on in Colton. I also attended the closing ceremony. And other than that, Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing further from the city manager's office.
Thank you very much.
That's it. The
Mr.
city
Smith?
manager has nothing to report, brother. Man, that's bad. I was like, let's see. You gotta have at least something to report. Nah, never trust those people that are like, I have nothing to report. Stardust City Hack said Marco's Pizza mentioned. Yeah, I heard that. It's ringing a bell. What is Marco's Pizza? Is it a Colton exclusive? Marcos. Okay. New York style pizza. That's it. Let's see, where are they at? Okay. All right. I'm glad we did a little Colton information. Bashona in a box said gross pizza. You've had Marco's Pizza? Because this is news to me.
Good is good. Hopefully you're not. He like gets freaking governor, right? I'm gonna grab one of them. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it.
Wow, Javier Becerra. Stardust City Hag said, type in the chat if anyone's had Marco Pizza. Also subscribe. Thank you. Yes, be sure to like this video if you have not liked it already. It helps me out, helps spread the word, so that way more people can learn about the news of the Inland Empire, the politics of the Inland Empire. So be sure to subscribe. I'm at almost 90 subscribers, I think. We need to update the thingy too, but I don't want to mess with it. But yeah, thank you.
That it's taking a little while to count. I don't think it's a great thing that it takes such a long time.
First? You want to go first?
Haven't tasted it, but somebody's got it. Who's got my food?
Who's
Somebody's
got my
got it.
food?
What did you order? I ordered a taquito of the mole negro. If you haven't had it, you got to try it. It's
Mole
really good.
negro.
And then
Taquito
I
de mole-
got
mole negro.
a bowl of Penang curry. Yeah, it's very good. A little bit of everything. Yeah, when you're in a place like that, you got to sort of limit your choices here.
Oh my God.
Okay, we ready? Let me just let me say a couple of quick words and then we'll go to it. First,
Well, first she's got to say, this is a profile piece, not a gotcha piece, right?
anxious to see the end result. Thankful that it looks like a good number of Californians decided to cast a ballot in the primary. It's always a little disturbing when you see low voter turnout in primaries, and I know that was a concern with this election going in. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a decent result. We still want to get more people coming out, but it's good to see that the reason it is taking a while for the count to be completed is because a lot of folks ended up voting, and so we're happy about that, and we look forward to the result. I'm anxious to find out who's going to be in there with me. So,
oh my God, it's going to be Steve Hilton. You know this.
Results in, but we're going to get out there. So we know we're in, and so we're going to get out there and continue to talk to people the way we did during the primary. And we hope that folks stay engaged and that we have an even bigger turnout for the November general election. Looking forward to that. Aside from that, I'll tell you that just talking to some of the folks here, they're feeling better after COVID. It was really tough. Some of them are coming back. They're happy that the World Cup is taking place. That helps with some of the business. But these are the folks that I grew up around. I mean, I walking into this mercado reminded me of home. Reminded me of traveling to Mexico, to Guadalajara, and going into the mercados back then. And it's just like this. And I'll find out just how good the food is in just a little while. But glad to be here.
Okay, wait. Becerra said his family's from Guadalajara. Guadalajara. Does that make sense?
Thank you for coming. Let's take a few questions.
I know you said that, Secretary, that you were a little bit anxious. Does your approach change depending on the competitor?
No, not really. Same thing. We know we got to deal with a number of crises. You name it. It's the same thing. It's the same dream.
David Dayen, ladies and gentlemen.
There he is.
Thanks so much for joining us
Thank you for
today.
having me, as always.
We anticipated this news from LA about the.
You got that for me in there?
Yes, and we want to bring somebody in who is actually.
Whoa, she works for USA.
Nah, this is
good. Hopefully you're not.
Okay.
Let's get straight out to NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz here in Los Angeles. So, Liz, this just happened. Yeah. I mean, what do you make of this? Is it shocking that a Republican made the #2 spot, or is this what was trending all along?
Yeah, well, I think for the past week, we've seen Steve Hilton holding pretty strong in his second spot. Tom Steyer was making gains, but for the past several days, it's been seeming likely that Steve Hilton was going to face Javier.
Bashonen in a box said, Bashonen in a box said, damn, why you trolled me with my husband? Who? Who was your husband? Marco? Marco's Pizza?
Becerra. It is notable that Tom Steyer, who is in third place, spent more than $200 million of his own money, just a record amount of money funding his campaign.
Sam? Who the heck is?
Ultimately,
Sam
wasn't
Cedar.
enough.
Oh, Mr. Cedar. Mr. Samuel Cedar. Hassan Piker's real uncle.
To get him into that second spot. At the end of the day, though, if you've been following this race, you know that there has just been so many candidates in the race that it split the Democratic vote. A lot of Democrats were hoping that two candidates would progress to the runoff. But I think just seeing how many candidates there were splitting the vote. Not surprising now that Steve Hilton is moving on.
Yeah, and it feels like every second that goes by, another mile of conspiracy forms here. Does it seem like the distrust that we're starting to see here in California is causing concern among local and statewide leaders?
I think what we're seeing from Democratic lawmakers in this state and Democrats in general right now is a concern that this is setting the stage for what's to come in November. California is going to have some very hotly contested House races, and we are already seeing some Republicans, starting with the president, sowing doubt into how elections are run here. There has been discussion, bipartisan discussion, though, over the past several days about potentially trying to figure out ways to speed up the process, because even if there isn't fraud, people are saying, okay, it's 2026, does it need to take this long? It has opened the door to the perception of fraud. Here is what Republican political strategist Rob Stutzman told me. He is someone who worked for Schwarzenegger. He helped Schwarzenegger get elected in the recall election several years ago, knows the state very well. Take a listen.
So California could go a long way towards squelching the conspiracies if they had a much more efficient system. But at the end of the day, there's no evidence of fraud or fraud of any magnitude that's actually going to swing the election. And if Karen Bass was rigging this election, she'd let Spencer Pratt finish second. She'd much rather face him than Rahman in November.
Yeah, that's where the conspiracy goes and kind of hits somewhat of a dead end, right?
Right, because we have these polls from the Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies that came out actually showing that if Karen Bass was going up against Spencer Pratt, she would win in a landslide. Here you can see she'd win in a landslide by like 18 points. But now going up against Nithya Raman, this shows that she's going to have a much harder fight. In fact, this shows Nithya Raman pulling ahead in that poll. That would happen before we got these results. But it just shows you that one of the ways that Democrats are pushing back on these claims is saying, come on, if it was rigged, she would have wanted to face Spencer Pratt. And we say that, of course, because LA is such a heavily blue city. Democrats outnumber Republicans.
And again, we've been doing quite a bit of math, and there's no one that knows math like the NBC decision desk. And yet the count is not technically over, right? Have we heard from Spencer Pratt?
Spencer Pratt has been notably quiet. Last night is when NBC News projected that he would not be advancing. And I believe the only thing he has posted since just happened a little bit ago. And it's a picture of a duck sitting on calm water. So we can make of that what we will. We will say earlier in the day yesterday, he did put out a tweet urging his supporters to, sort of patience, saying there's still a lot of votes to be counted, but we haven't heard from him yet. He did say at some point in this campaign that if he didn't win, he was going to leave LA. So I know some people are wondering to see what he does next.
Yes, hopefully he leaves LA.
Duck, sitting duck from Serenity, I guess. Liz Kreutz, thank you so very much.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
The planet is quickly warming, and severe impacts from climate change will continue to accelerate unless action is taken immediately to prevent irreversible changes. That's according to the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, calling for urgent action in a video released last week. He cited a new update from the World Meteorological Organization that warns El Niño is expected to arrive in the coming months with 90% certainty.
The science is clear. El Niño is arriving on our doorstep in the coming months with 90% certainty. The world must treat it as the urgent climate warning it is. El Niño conditions will pour fuel on the fire of a warming world. Impacts will hit even harder, travel even further, and cross borders with devastating speed. The only effective response is climate action equal to the crisis, ending the addiction to fossil fuels, accelerating the shift to renewables, protecting the most vulnerable, and delivering early warning systems for all.
Well, even as the climate news gets more dire, on Monday, climate scientist Peter Kalmus says he was forced to resign from his job at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. His new Substack post is titled, "I was just forced to resign from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. This administration would love for science to just go away." He writes, he started getting concerned about climate change in 2006, and at the time he was sure that by 2020, humanity would be on the same page about climate change and well on its way to solving it for good. How could I have been so incredibly wrong, he writes. I overestimated humanity, he says. For more, we go to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We are joined by climate scientist and activist Peter Kalmus. For the first time, Peter, not identifying you as a scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. Why did you resign?
Yeah, thanks for having me back. I can speak freely for the first time on your show. Well, the surface reason for my resignation was a mandate to return to in-person work at the laboratory. So I've been fully remote in North Carolina for 4 years. A big part of the reason I left Altadena in 2022 to work remotely was because it was getting so hot there and so fiery. There's a fire that made a smoke cloud that encompassed my entire house and my family for, like, I think it was over a month. It was about a month in 2020, the Bobcat fire. And that got picked off by a really strong heat wave, like heat that I've never felt before. Birds were literally falling off of trees while I was walking on the sidewalk. It was just remarkable. It's too much for me. And obviously, as a climate scientist, I can see that we're on this escalator towards warmer and warmer and warmer temperatures. And world leaders are not doing anything about it. This idiotic regime now in the United States, led by Trump, still thinks it's a hoax, is waging a war against solar panels. It's just remarkably foolish. So that was part of why I left. And then 2 years after I left, the house that I lived in my entire neighborhood, my town of Altadena, burned down in the Eden fire. So, it's still getting worse. We're still burning fossil fuels. We're accelerating the burning of fossil fuels. This industry, oil, coal, gas industry, has been dishonest for half a century, blocking action, bribing politicians, playing dirty, lying through their teeth, testifying in front of Congress, saying that they're not going to stop lying. They're still doing it. Their ads are ridiculous right now, and the greenwashing that they do. It's absolutely insane.
Can you explain what NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab does, what you did there, and what you're going to do now, Peter?
Yeah, thanks for that. JPL is, in my opinion, well, at least it was, the crown jewel in the NASA system of centers. So it's this beautiful campus in Pasadena, California, nestled in the hills there.
Shout out to
it is responsible for a huge fraction of the Earth observing satellites that monitor climate change and monitor weather around the world. The public doesn't really realize what a huge role JPL has played in monitoring the Earth. But more famously, it's responsible for putting rovers on Mars. It does these spectacular landings on Mars. It explores the planets of the solar system and its moons. So David mentioned the Europa Clipper. That's a JPL mission, which is going to study the ocean under Europa. And he's absolutely right, by the way, that we tend to really take for granted the boisterous, gorgeous life on planet Earth in a way that I think is, we have to stop doing. It's remarkable how we take it for granted. JPL also studies astrophysics, as many astrophysics missions. But it's just, I worked there for 15 years. It was my dream job. I was, one of those space kids. I was just, really nerded out on space from first grade onward. And it was a dream job for me. The colleagues that I worked with were brilliant. Morale, though, over the last couple of years, because mainly of the Trump administration, has been lower than I've ever seen it. And 30% of the workforce at JPL has been laid off or has left because of funding cuts and because of that low morale in the last year and a half.
How were you forced out?
So basically, I was told that I had to return to JPL by October 27th. Obviously, I couldn't do that because I'd be leaving my sons and my wife and my life here in North Carolina behind. We moved here 4 years ago. The kids are in school here. So that wasn't an option. I would feel very sad, probably get depressed if I lived in a little apartment alone in Pasadena. Moving my entire family back wasn't an option. So I just fought. I tried to put in for remote exceptions. The process was extremely unfair. I had saved up a lot of vacation days and sick days. I injured my knee earlier this year and had to take a medical leave. Eventually, I was out of options and I just had to leave. But again, the indirect reason, the larger reason here is that Trump is not only attempting to dismantle the United States ocean observing system, they're trying to dismantle all of science in the United States. U.S. has had my entire life. It's been this sort of island in the world for doing science because of the federal funding system. You can make a career in science here. You can sustain research because of federal grants. The Trump administration has already cut about 8,000 federal grants for scientists ranging from public health to climate science. So now, basically, my whole life, there have been scientists from around the world coming here, the best minds, the brightest minds in the entire world. Trump has destroyed that in less than 2 years, and I think it's going to take generations to rebuild that if we ever can.
Peter Kalmus, for those who haven't followed you on Democracy Now!, talk about your last arrests. We just have about 30 seconds. The reason you got arrested time and time again.
Yeah, so I've been arrested 3 times. The first time I attached myself to a door handle at JPMorgan Chase because they're the worst funders of this dishonest fossil fuel industry in the world. And the LA police had a huge response with like about 100 riot police. So that action went viral. And it felt like a way to communicate to the public, finally, just how serious this is. I want everyone to know that we are in extreme danger. It gets hotter and hotter and hotter every year. This summer, especially because of the El Nino, could be the hottest summer we've ever experienced in our lives, but it could also be the
hottest summer in Southern California because of El Nino. Ugh.
coolest summer for the rest of our lives.
Peter Kalmus, I want to thank you for being with us. Climate activist who just resigned from his post as a climate scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. His new Substack post will link to as well. That does it for our show. I'm headed to the Sheffield Doc Fest in England. I'll be there on Thursday and Friday. We'll be broadcasting, and the film Steal the Story, Please, about Democracy Now! Will be premiering there. And then we'll be next week in Belfast in Northern Ireland for Doc's. On Friday, dozens of activists with student labor and community groups with the Stop Funding Billionaires campaign protested in front of NASDAQ headquarters here in New York to protest the upcoming SpaceX IPO. They chanted and held signs that read, "No Nazis on NASDAQ." Quinn Slobodian now joins us.
No Nazis
Quinn
on NASDAQ,
is a professor of international history at Boston University. His new book, co-authored with Ben Tarnoff, is Muskism, a guide for the perplexed. What concerns you most about this IPO offering and Musk being on the brink of becoming a trillionaire? Professor Slobodian.
Well, there's a whole lot of things that concern me about it, but one of the things I find most striking is the way his relabeling of himself as the techno king of Tesla in 2021 is now becoming somewhat more of a reality at a larger scale through the SpaceX IPO. What I mean there specifically is he's really bending and reshaping corporate governance as a whole around his individual personality. The movement of his companies from Delaware to Texas means that he's not held accountable to shareholders in the way he would have been before. The creation of a whole share structure so that he has 85% of the shares that would be required to vote him out of a leadership position means that he's produced a kind of ironclad, almost monarchical position inside of this company that actually completely short circuits the whole idea of the public company, which is that there's supposed to be a kind of a shareholder democracy, quote unquote, that can hold leadership accountable. In this case, if you look at that SpaceX IPO, it says that the key person risk, meaning everything hangs on Musk's shoulders, is so great that even if he dies, there actually isn't even a succession plan. It would be in a completely unprecedented zone. So the degree of influence being centralized in one extremely erratic and often dangerous personality is something that seems to be of great concern. Also, I think that there are a couple of other things we talk about in the book that help to get a handle on some of the stuff that Eric was explaining so well. One of the things we talk about in the book is something called attention alchemy. So Musk has been very good at turning himself into a kind of a human meme stock. As Eric was mentioning, making retail investors have access to 30% of these shares means you're relying on the kind of hype cycles and a lot of the kind of hyper-loyal fan base that Musk has built up online, especially in now his kind of bespoke social media echo chamber of X.com. So he's able to produce his own reality inside of that space of X.com, such that, for example, when you looked at yesterday what the top news, today's news was on X, both of those things were to do with Elon Musk. One of the things was that Elon Musk questions whether colonialism had made Africa poor, and the other one said that Argentine President Javier Milei praised Musk for defeating the woke mind virus. If you look at SpaceX as he describes it as a vertically integrated innovation engine, stretching from a social media platform to satellites and rockets, then what he really seems to be saying he's going to do is create a closed communications ecosystem where that really does become today's news, where he can control the message and the content and then use this to kind of automate away the problem of social consent at scale. So above and beyond those problems that I think are accurately being identified of the average index fund holders being left holding the bag, there's kind of a larger ideological project at work here that I think we should all be very concerned that this is now becoming kind of the load-bearing infrastructure for the global financial system. Another term we introduce in the book is the idea of state symbiosis. It seems that Musk is also creating a situation where he becomes deeply reliant on state contracts. The state becomes reliant on him. He has over $7 billion of defense contracts just this year. And the idea there in the end is that if this starts to teeter, then he'll be too big to fail and the state will have to step in to bail him out.
And Professor Slobodian, could you talk about Starlink a little bit? It's already the world's largest satellite internet provider, and the immense power that it has, not just in terms of economy, but in terms of warfare and state power around the world.
Starlink is really kind of the crown jewel of the SpaceX offering. It's the part of the company that actually makes money. The rockets kind of break even. The AI segment is burning money at an unprecedented rate. Starlink satellites, he first started putting into low Earth orbit in 2019. And by now there are around 10,000 in orbit, which accounts for over 70% of all of the satellites in the sky. So he's produced this whole new market sector of low Earth orbit. These things are only 500 kilometers from Earth, much, much closer than the geostationary satellites. They're used by consumers. There are over 10 million subscribers worldwide. But essentially, they're also used by armed forces in the field, famously in Ukraine. And they're going to be a central part to the Golden Dome strategy that Trump has already started handing out contracts for. So there's something called Star Shield, which is a more heavily encrypted military network for satellites that is absolutely central to this missile defense program that is the source of a great deal of incoming revenue for people like Musk. So the idea is he can scale up from 10,000 to, as described in the SpaceX prospectus, up to 1 million, and thus create a kind of global telecommunications monopoly. However, this is also one of his greatest vulnerabilities. You can't just put satellites into the sky without getting approval. In fact, something called the International Telecommunications Union, which is an agency of the UN, needs to approve these, and there's no way that they're going to approve his request for 1 million satellites. Also, individual countries need to accept his ability to sell the receivers down on Earth. And many countries are still unwilling to do that. South Africa has said no. So far, India has said no. When Musk refused to do content moderation in Brazil after the attempted coup there, Brazil went ahead and seized the assets of Starlink. So if you read that SpaceX prospectus, you also find out that there are a lot of weak points and choke points. And Musk's greatest vulnerability is still old-fashioned legislation, regulation, laws made by democratically elected governments.
Yep.
And there was at least one European pension fund, a Danish fund, that announced that they will be excluding SpaceX from their investments, claiming the CEO claimed the extreme concentration of power effectively prevents the board from exercising meaningful oversight and makes it impossible to remove Musk against his will. What is the potential danger to even to the U.S. economy of so much investment, especially by index funds in SpaceX?
Well, the problem there is the situation we're in the United States is a very small number of tech companies are responsible for a great deal of the stock market rise in the last couple of years. Those small number of tech companies also have an unprecedented number of concentration of power in the figure of these founder CEO techno kings, if you like. If one of those founder CEOs starts to go off on a limb, as Musk has been very well known to do, to commit himself, let's say, even more passionately to the neo-fascist causes in Western Europe that seem to be so important to him personally, then you could create a crisis within that company, within its profitability, which then doesn't just become a problem for that company. It produces a cascade effect of loss of investor confidence in the tech sector altogether. It drains money out of people's savings accounts and their retirements accounts. And it can be the kind of tipping point that leads to a crash in the sector altogether. So at a broad level, what the brave stance of the Danish pension fund should show us is not just that we need to regulate the outliers, the more extreme members of this Silicon Valley leadership class. But we should ask a bigger question about why the political economy of the US and by extension the world has become a one-way bet on unproven technology. Why isn't there more diversification? Why isn't there more attention to forms of the green capitalist models even that were so popular only a few years ago? Why is the biotech sector, the higher ed sector, not valued for the things that it brings instead of only this often outrageous and absurd vision of launching AI data centers into the stratosphere?
And finally, we just have a minute, Quinn. But one word we didn't use in this segment was Doge. Elon Musk is the face of cutting government spending, yet he is taking up more and more of government funding. If you could comment on that and what the protesters held outside NASDAQ as they chanted "No Nazis on NASDAQ," what they mean?
Well, yes, I think Doge is understood best not just as an effort to cut government across the board, but as a way to refashion and reformat government to make it more open to be the site of injection for new services from Silicon Valley, specifically Palantir and Musk's AI tools. So it's not about demolishing the government. It's about making the government more compatible, ready for the kind of products that Musk offers, and to make him then an indispensable part of the infrastructure. Already they're talking about commercial dominance in Musk's control of military communications infrastructure. When the politics of that person who is doing that is also consonant with the furthest right-wing parts of the European identitarian movement, then one starts to see why people would hold up signs talking about Nazis in the NASDAQ. It makes us all ask a question that even if those stocks should do well, even if those retail investors aren't holding the bag, as it were, by the end, let's say they keep profiting, and at the same time, Musk keeps filling his feed with questionings about whether or not racism should be recalibrated back to a kind of normal status quo ante, whether or not remigration is the right policy for Western Europe and the United States, and whether or not any piece of democratic policy that goes against his best interests is simply a matter of corruption and bugs in the mainframe. That's what we really should be worried about, the possibility of those things to live together, tech-driven prosperity and radical right-wing racist politics.
Professor Quinn Slobodian teaches international history at Boston University. His new book.
Basically ethnic cleansing of the United States and Europe. Far-right concept referring to ethnic cleansing via mass deportation of non-white minority populations, especially immigrants, and sometimes including native-born citizens, to their place of racial ancestry. Terrible, terrible.
Is Muskism, a guide for the perplexed? And we'll link to your Atlantic piece headlined Elon Musk's SpaceX Endgame. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications.
Shout out Amy Goodman, always. Inspiration, idol, God, maybe? I don't know. Anyways, we're going to leave it here for today. Thank you for joining me. It was a pretty good stream, or a great stream. Claudia Scheinbaum's EV is crazy. But yeah, we'll be back at it with more news later this week. So please be sure to hit that like button if you have not on this video already. It helps me out. Subscribe if you haven't. And share this with someone if you think it's worth sharing. I appreciate it. All right. So peace out, everyone. Thank you. My name is Angelina Tucci. Thank you for joining me today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace out, everyone.